We need to get back on to business of the body here. And we need a quorum, so I would hope that we are looking rather thin, shall I say, on members at this point. So how many people do we have here? Do we have a quorum? We have a quorum. All right, moving on to our last bill. Let's see, I don't know though. We've still got one more on two on third reading regular. We're at 172. Okay, we are at that order of business of bills on third reading and final passage. The first bill for our. Oh, yes, excuse me. Representative Schmidt, please, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Privilege of the floor.
Absolutely, go right ahead.
All right. Yes, I'd like to recognize our Sublette County Treasurer, Emily Parvasini. Sorry, Emily, but she's up here. She's going to listen in for a little bit, so welcome her, please.
Welcome to the House. Thankful and glad to have you here. Appreciate all you do for your county, and we appreciate and enjoy your representative. He's a real asset to this body. Thank you. We are at that order of business with bills on third reading and final passage. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 172.
House Bill 172, sponsored by Representative Haroldson, repeal gun-free zones and preemption amendments, an act relating to concealed weapons.
We have amendments. Get them pulled up here right quick. Representative Sherwood, if you would like to proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope we all had a good lunch and had some time to stretch. I move third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 172, and I ask you for your favorable consideration. Members, I would direct you to page 3, line 10 in the bill. It says nothing in this section shall be construed to, and then there's a list of call outs on there. The section V on page 4 provides consideration for early childhood facilities that are licensed by the department that oversees services to our families. This essentially outlines the allowance of concealed carry within childhood care facilities. However, in hearing from my constituents, it's made me realize that we have inadvertently left out all early childhood education centers. So right now the bill calls out those that are licensed by the department that oversees our family services. I have one in my district, and I'm hearing from my constituents concerned that they're being treated differently in this bill, and they're asking to be treated the same. So again, I don't think this was on purpose. I think it was inadvertent, but the one community center located, lunch, brain, here we go. After hearing from my constituents these concerns about the children who attend the center, I spoke to the good bringer of the bill. We had a really great conversation, helped me become more educated on the issue to understand the intent and the concerns. So I'm bringing this amendment to you today for your consideration, not to water down the bill, but to create an equal consideration for all of our early childhood centers across the state. So my amendment says on page 4, before line 18, nothing in this section shall be construed to prohibit an early childhood education center with a prevention and protection plan from prohibiting the open or concealed carry of a weapon within that facility. So what I spoke to the good bringer about, and he helped me understand, is that we want to make sure these facilities are safe and that they're protected and that they're not a target and that the children who are attending them are safe. So having a prevention and protection plan would require things like a metal detector or additional security guards, additional safety measures. So if the center decides that they don't want people to open or conceal carry, there are other methods in place to protect the children. So I ask you for your thoughtful and favorable consideration. Again, the facility in my community is asked to be treated the same as all of the early childhood facilities that are called out in this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Sherwood. Representative Harrelson for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Obviously, this is similar to an amendment we had yesterday, but there's a difference in there, and that is the prevention protection conversation. So one of the things I think we need to understand as we're having this conversation is if you add in an element of prevention and an element of protection, you at least limit or reduce the conversation of a soft target. So I think really this is a policy that you need to make. If you think this is enough for us to relinquish that right, that's your call. I'm not going to speak on or against this. I'm just letting you know that this provision gives that prevention protection conversation some validity and an idea that you could move forward with. But again, I'm not going to say yes or no. I think this is a policy you guys have to make. If you feel it's okay to have an area that is exempt. And so what you have to understand is Department of Family Services, licensed facilities have an exemption. Non-licensed don't. And this would fall under a non-licensed status. And so there's a little bit of background. And you might say, well, why don't you tell me what you think? Because we all have a brain and we all have a worldview and we can all do that. And so I'm just giving you information, and I'm going to let you guys make a decision on this information in regards to what you feel is the best policy in this situation.
Thank you, Representative Harrelson. Any others for their first time? Seeing none, second time? Representative Harrelson? None? Representative Sherwood?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I just wanted to thank the bringer of the bill for talking through this concern, this issue with me, helping me to bring an amendment that, again, was not meant to water down the bill, but to create a safe space for my constituents and their children. And so I just want to, again, appreciate that dialogue.
Thank you, Representative Sherwood. Members, you are voting on third reading amendment number 1 to House Bill 172. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The amendment has not been adopted. Next amendment for our consideration, House third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172. Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172 and ask for your favorable consideration. And Mr. Speaker and members, talk to the sponsor of the bill about this. This is not the first time, obviously, a bill like that has come before the legislature and over the years. And I just recall some of these debates over the years on this issue. One of them on a concealed carry permit. And let me say, I don't have a concealed carry permit. I should have one. All my friends who do, I'm glad they do, and they're very good people and all that. So I think this is all good. But the 18-year-olds can obtain a concealed carry permit. And I think the thing that I've always, should an 18-year-old high school senior be able to conceal carry in his high school? Or if he goes to a basketball game at the rival school across town? Should he? And so that's where I've kind of talked to the sponsor about this. Now, what are the odds of that happening? I don't know. Probably pretty small. But so basically this just puts this in there that if you're a high school student, you're not going to conceal carry in your high school or any other public school that you go to. So that's all this does. So stand for any questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Harrelson for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So last year's bill, this was in. A little bit of a caveat this brings that wasn't in last year's bill was the conversation of another school, a rival school conversation. And you might ask, why did we take it out? Because I was asking the question about rights. And honestly, if being 100% transparent, I battle with this. I do battle with this. Because this is an interesting and hard conversation. I don't think any of us, I mean, the reality of something happening, minuscule. we still have to ask those questions. And so what we did last year is this was in. I intentionally left it out because I knew there would be an entire crew of us to have this conversation. And so you might sit there and go, this is a complete shift. Well, these are good policy, guys. This is the policy we have to decide as we push these bills forward. And this is one that we have to ask. On one hand, an 18-year-old can sign up and defend their country. They can live and die for this country and our armed forces. And I have a huge amount of respect for that. On the other hand, we say, well, they don't have the right to be able to have the same rights as other adults in this realm. You turn around, you got a senior in high school that could conceal carry into their school or into a sporting event or something of that nature. And do we want that to be the case? That's a policy you're going to have to decide. This is not an easy one. This is not a cut and dry because there is a lot that goes into this. But I think that really it comes back to when the good bringer of the amendment brought this to me and said, what do you think? I said, I think that's a great thing to have a conversation about. I don't think we need to spend all afternoon having this conversation. More, I wanted you to sit here and have the thoughts you're having right now. Because as you build these type of bills, these are the battles we fight. What do we want to put in there? What is preserving a right, but at the same time turning around and being wise about how we do that? I'll leave it at that, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Harrelson. Representative Geringer, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, a question for the bringer of the amendment, the good representative from the county with 1 on its license plate, but number 2 in my heart. Does public schools include university and community colleges?
Thank you, Representative. Representative Representative Washut for his first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So I kind of have mixed feelings about this because I have met some outstanding 18-year-olds who are of no concern. But I've met 18-year-olds that, quite frankly, would be a concern, right? And I think there's a world of difference between our 18-year-olds who are active duty and have been through that disciplinary growth process of serving in the military. And, you know, if we put a carve out for such people, I'd probably sign up in a heartbeat for it. But I also know that many of our criminal cases, whenever we have a young person in this age group who's legally an adult commits a crime, we hear over and over and over about how the brain is not fully developed until about age 26. They're not fully culpable for their criminal behavior, yada, yada, yada. Sometimes I wonder why we made 18-year-olds adults. We should maybe just give them voting privileges and call it good at that point. But I see the point. You know, there are some young 18-year-olds who are quite immature, and I certainly would share the concern about having that individual running around the high school with a firearm.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Lean for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the bringer of the amendment, I have a question about the logistics behind gun ownership between the ages of 18 and 21, as it is 21 to federally purchase a firearm. Are we accidentally setting people up for federal litigation to lose their gun owner rights if they're 19 and possess a concealed carry on their person? Furthermore, for the body, I'd just like to say it's not the people that follow the laws that you have to worry about. It's the people that don't follow the laws that you have to worry about. For instance, the tragedy that happened yesterday in Tennessee, in the state to the south, sorry about that, was not an adult and did not have permission to have that firearm on him. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their first time? Seeing none, second time. To the bringer, Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you. I think the answer to our university and our community colleges is no, they are not public schools. So this does not include the university and the community colleges. I think next there was some good debate about, 18-year-olds, and you remember well, you won't remember, many of you, but some of us, when we grew up and the Vietnam War was raging and 18-year-olds were going to Vietnam, but they couldn't vote yet. And so we changed that and they can vote. And so it was brought up, you know, when you're 18, a lot of things can happen. You can join our military, but you're not going to be a senior in high school and in active duty, right? We have some seniors in high school or in the Guard who've joined. So I think there's all these little things. I think, but other 18-year-old responsibilities, you can't drink till you're 21. Used to be 19 in this state. Have a little bill that I've never brought, by the way, but anyway, Mr. Speaker, on that issue, but there's other things. You can't work in certain occupations till you're 21. So I don't know. I just think as a person, I've worked most of my life around kids this age, raised my own 4 kids. I'm just thinking, you know, when that school bell rings, I mean, is that what we want? I don't know. I just think as a person that has been around kids my whole life, I think probably pause on this and say, nah, you can carry it other places, but not when you're in school, in Mr. Jones's science class. So that's where I'm at. I think it's a policy choice for us to think about and put yourself in that situation and how we want this to look. So I don't think it does any damage to the bill at all, and I think it'd be a very rare situation, but I want us to think about that. Okay, thank you, and I urge your aye vote, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Harshman. Body, you are voting on third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. Chair's in doubt. All those in favor, please stand. Representative Tarver, are you up or, sorry about that. Okay, thank you. Hold still, ladies and gentlemen. Down. You may be seated. All those opposed, please stand. Please stand still, ladies and gentlemen. Mhm. It is so close, we're just going to go ahead and do a roll call. Chief Clerk, if you would please call the roll. We're going to find out here in just a half a second.
Allemand? Andrew? Angelos? Banks? Bear? Brady? Bratton? Brown Gary? Brown Landon? Byron? Campbell Elisa? Campbell Kevin? Chestick? Clouston? Connolly? Davis? Eklund, excused. Erickson? Filer? Geringer? Guggenmoss? Haroldson? Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Jarvis.
Excused.
Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Speaker Nyman.
No.
Are there any changes? Alamand, aye. To no, further changes. Singh, no. To aye, further changes. Closing vote. Vote closed. 27 aye, 32 no, 3 excused.
By your vote, you have chosen not to adopt third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 172. Next amendment for our consideration is third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 172. Representative Haroldson. Representative Haroldson, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 172 and ask for your favorable consideration. So this is kind of a working with everyone involved type of amendment. As I've talked with our good higher educational facilities and our university over the hill, there was some concerns. And so I think to start it, I'm going to send you to page 3, line 20. And last year, there was the conversation we had on this floor about open carrying in the Capitol, open and carrying in these government meetings, and the concern that there was about intimidation. Well, furthermore, there was the conversation, what does that look like for if someone wants to open carry into, say, the university campus for a debate that is contentious or something of that nature. And so this here would just bring in the language that that says that basically this is a concealed carry conversation in the Capitol as well as in the on the campuses. This is for concealed carry purposes. And again, I'm giving you a policy decision here, but I'm bringing this one. You guys can have that conversation. Personally, I think that as we address this is a conversation of rights and protection, and I believe those are upheld with this. It further goes and corrects or changes that standing committee amendment that talked about the storage of firearms. There was some concern that hit me over that. So it would basically strip out that language that we add in here for storage and handling, and it goes a little more prescriptive, and it says nothing shall prohibit a government entity from requiring an employee or student to store firearms within a concealed biometric container or locking container when not being carried on the employer or student's person, except said rules shall not prohibit the storage of firearm and ammunition in public campus housing by an employee or student authorized to carry a concealed firearm pursuant to this section, or require that a firearm be stored unloaded or separated from its ammunition. This is to align with common practice for this. We don't want it to be a deal where we align ourselves more with kind of the more extreme views on that. So this is more prescriptive language but at the same time giving our schools the opportunity, our higher educational facilities the opportunity to make some standards. We don't want it to be a deal where someone stores a firearm in an unsafe manner, where someone who is not knowledgeable of that gets a hold of someone else's firearm and cause an issue. And this is also for transportation, if it's not on your body or person, it's got to be in a case. So anyways, with that, I'd ask for your favorable consideration.
Thank you, Representative Haroldson. Anyone want to speak for their first time? Seeing none, question being called. Members, you are voting on third reading amendment number 3 to House Bill 172. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. On to third reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 172. Representative Campbell. If you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move Committee of the Whole Amendment on third reading, Amendment number 4. Is that right so
To-
far? Oh, to House Bill 172.
Thank you very much. Please proceed.
Thank you. So this amendment truly comes from a few different municipality that I represent, the county that I represent, and the community college campus. So this amendment would just affect, in the bill, page 2, line 11, the little I, which currently reads, any meeting of a governmental entity. And my proposition would be to insert question mark, or a comma, unless the governmental entity determines that the concealed carrying of weapons at a meeting places the public at risk pursuant to Wyoming Statute 15-1103A, XVI 18, or similar rule of the governmental entity. And the reason for this primarily is with regard to our community college on campus, they often have to be in meetings regarding student conduct cases, Title IX investigations, employment hearings that are very contentious. And so if it were to put the public at risk in those meetings, giving them the opportunity or authority to determine that risk and then act accordingly. Additionally, with our city municipalities and county municipalities or county governments, there are meetings that are very contentious. And there have been meetings where I have been in the chamber. The public absolutely would have been at risk. But because currently we have devices to detect those and keep those out, it ensures the public safety. So what this amendment does is truly honors the intent of the bill and gives our maybe community colleges, some of those other governmental entities, cities, counties, the authority to assess the risk in pursuant to that Wyoming statute that I referenced before, and giving them the authority. Because realistically, none of us are going to be sitting in that meeting. None of us are going to be sitting in that room to effectively assess the threat to the public. So I would much prefer we give that authority to those in the room so they can do what they have been charged with, and that is keeping our public safe. So I would very much encourage, and I vote on this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
First time.
On and against the amendment. I think a couple things you have to understand. This language is open enough where anyone could say, well, I think this is just a place where people are unsafe and we're just going to lock this down. And the other thing that we have to look at, as I've played over the last 4 years with this bill, one of the things that I've done a lot of looking at and research on is the statistics around it, because we can all have our ideas, and at the beginning I walked in with my ideas, and at the end I walked in with a lot more of, well, what have we seen? What have we seen take place? And truth of the matter is we've not seen that. We've not seen this be an issue. We haven't seen where people go into a meeting and create issue or mayhem in the states where this has been allowed. Furthermore, as a whole, a majority of, like, when we're talking about local municipalities, we don't have a prevention piece. We don't have metal detectors. We don't have that, and we could turn the entire state into Fort Knox. We could do that. We could bring an appropriation and put a ton of metal detectors all over the state and try to do that prevention piece. But at the end of the day, the best protection in those positions are going to be law-abiding citizens exercising their Second Amendment right. And so on and against the amendment, and believe this would, in a very massive way, undermine the integrity of the bill.
Thank you, Representative. Body, you are voting on third reading amendment number 4 to House Bill 172. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Not been adopted. Is that it? Okay. We got one more amendment? Oh, okay, yeah, Bill. No, Bill. All right, let me get over here to my spot. No, there's no more amendment, just one more bill coming. Okay. House Bill 172 having been read 3 separate times, the question is, shall the bill pass? Chief Clerk will call the roll.
Allemand. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clouston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund, excused. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storer. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Wharf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Speaker Nyman.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Nicholas? Nicholas, aye to no. Further changes? Further changes? Closing vote? Vote closed. 50 aye, 10 no, 2 excused.
House Bill 172 having received an affirmative vote of the majority of the members elected to the House, House Bill 172 has passed the House. Next bill for our consideration is House Bill 80. Reading clerk.
House Bill 80, sponsored by Representative Knapp, Stop ESG State Funds Fiduciary Duty Act, an act relating to the administration of government.
We have amendments. First amendment will be actually show the amendment number 2 will be from Representative Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would move third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 80 and ask for your favorable consideration.
Please proceed.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very simple amendment. It goes to page 2, line, and it adds one word. It's page 2, line 9, under the definition of fiduciary commitment, means any evidence, and we're changing any evidence to any material evidence of a fiduciary trustee's purpose. And then it lists what those obligations are in A, B, and C. So this just says it, if it's a minor statement from one manager or he's quoted out, in a public place or something like that. We just want to make sure that it has impact, so that we don't catch somebody unawares with the language as it's currently structured.
Thank you, Representative Nicholas. Representative Knapp, for your first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. I see the amendment as friendly and ask for your aye vote.
Question having been called. Members, you're voting on third reading amendment number 2 to House Bill 80. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The amendment has been adopted. Third reading amendment number 2. We don't have any others. Okay, last amendment. Amendment number 1, House Bill 80, Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move amendment number 1 to House Bill 80 and withdrawal at the appropriate time.
Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, and I just want to make a thing important for our body. Yesterday, I made an amendment on a bill. I moved it, and then I withdrew it. And I think I had a good representative from county number 2. There's 2 in my heart also, maybe. No, I don't know. But he objected and said that the amendment belonged to the floor. And I think, so I went back and I just had to kind of think about it. It does technically belong to the body, but I can still, the mover can still make that motion to withdraw it. And most of the time when that is done, the presiding officer or the chairman will say, without objection. And that's Mason's 274, paragraph 4. And so I think when the mover requests to withdraw, like I'm going to do on this, generally the presiding officer, without objection, the amendment's withdrawn. That's what I tried to do yesterday. But just so you all can make motions and withdraw them, just want that to be clear, unless the body overrules, which the body always rules in here. So that's okay. So with that, Mr. Chairman, on this bill, and if you read the title, and then I'm kind of trying to work through all these amendments. I just want to make sure before we pass this, first of all, is this bill doing anything? I want to make sure of that. What is it actually going to do? And I think we've removed that 3X piece, all that stuff that has the potential to really bankrupt us. And I just want to make sure I'm not going to do any harm with an aye vote on this thing. So just if we could just real quick, I mean, a 1 minute, 2 minute thing, what this bill is going to do, because you try to follow the amendments on it. And it's been heavily amended. So with that, Mr. Speaker, just to take a minute or 2, and then I'll withdraw this amendment. Thank you.
Representative Knapp, first time.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. So in answer to the question, what does the bill do? With all the amendments that we've done, with all the working together and making this bill better, here's a synopsis of where we're at. HB 80 codifies rules from the state treasurer, all right, the person in charge of our investments, the highest at the state level, the investment group, which enforces pecuniary investments that do not allow an overly weighted social, environmental, governance, or ideological fund, rather to focus investment strategy on risk of return. So basically what we did is took language from the investment strategy in our board that controls our investments, took their language and incorporated it into a bill. This codifies their rules so that later if we do have another election and another person comes in, we've got in place basically a rule to say, let's look at our receipt or our returns as a percentage that best brings back funds to our retirees and to the state. So why is that important? When you focus on those other issues, whether they're to the right or to the left, those goals become your focus of investing rather than a return. So the risks increase, the returns diminish. In that instance, has this ever happened to Wyoming before? Well, currently high-end fund managers, and we won't name the names, but they're in litigation with our state and 10 other states for misleading their investors and allegedly some antitrust violations as well. So this does happen. Although we've pulled out our short-term investments from these companies, our long-term investments remain and are subject to huge penalties for early withdrawals. So we're kind of stuck for the next 5 years with that. This bill would ensure that contracts are written for either reimbursement of loss or early withdrawal penalties, depending on how our board wishes to draft those contracts. So we're not putting in place anything that says there's a penalty up front. We're dictating it. We're allowing them to draw their own contract and put whether it's a $0 penalty or however they wish to do it. Why did this bill have such a high fiscal impact? I think that's an important question. We've actually been operating under these rules since 2023. So they were adopted in that same fiscal policy and in the same language as what this bill presents. So again, we're codifying. What is the investment results since we did take that on in 2023? Well, if you look at our fiscal returns in 2024, we actually had one of the highest rates of returns. This comes from the first page on the 2024 report. I think a fiscal note was not given by our staff that produces the bills, but was given by several of the departments, several of the fund managers. And I think those fiscal impacts given were more likely crystal ball conjecture than they were an actual fiscal note. Because we can't see into the future. We can't see what our investments are. And when asked to give that in more detail of where that fiscal note came from, the answer was, well, it would either be sitting on the desk with no returns and not investing in any company, or investing in equity and index funds, probably one of the most passive ways of investing possible. So that's important to me because I've answered countless emails. I've talked to countless people on the phone from back home and around the state, scared to death about their retirement funds. And I think that's unfortunate that that happened in this bill with a fiscal note. I think that may have been even irresponsible. Because according to our own records of what we've invested in, following that policy, we've done extremely, extremely well. And I believe that will be the case in the future as well. We have excellent fund managers. They have followed the rules. They have invested that way, and they've gotten us a good return for our investments. But I think it's critical when we look at fiscal notes, because I've seen some that are indeterminate that probably should be determinate in looking at a bill. But I've also seen this happen, and I'll continue to answer calls, and I'll continue to communicate to people because a lot of our job is educating. And it's important to educate without any falsehoods or without a manipulation in a fiscal note. And so I'll continue to do that. I think it's important for those people to rest easy and know that their investments are safe. Their investments are safe, even with good policy on not investing in anything but the return. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Knapp. Representative Heiner, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members of the body, let's talk about fiscal notes just for a second here. So when we submit a bill to our attorneys back here and they draft a bill, then they go out and ask for a fiscal note. What kind of impact this will have? So with this one, and I will use the names because they are in the fiscal note, they went to the state treasurer's office and the Wyoming retirement system to find out what the impact this bill would have on those two entities. Now recognize that these are the two entities we're trying to put boundaries on. So isn't that a little bit of a conflict of interest to ask the very departments that will be impacted what kind of a dollar amount it will affect them? Do we want to take that with a grain of salt? Because while the Secretary or the State Treasurer's Office declined to submit numbers, the Wyoming retirement system came back and they said that they would lose over 10% of their fund. They have a fund of $11.5 billion, and they estimated they would lose $1.16 billion because of this legislation. Now, granted, they based that on the original bill before it was amended, but as legislators, we put tremendous value in this fiscal note. We make huge decisions based on the fiscal note. We have to be able to trust that. And I have my doubts about this one. I have serious doubts about this one. So I went and asked for backup material from that department. I wanted to find out where those numbers came from. And I'll tell you what I got back. It says that they have returned a 7.46% annualized rate of return in the past. Very good rate of return. I applaud them for that. That's a tremendous amount of work and they're bringing value. But they said based on this bill, they assumed that no new active manager contracts would be viable. They're saying that they don't think they can go out and invest the money anymore. And so they're saying that the portfolio could not be invested with any companies. It would solely be invested in government bonds. And the present yield on a 10-year treasury is only 4.25%. So that's where the assumptions are coming from. And this body needs to know that before making these decisions, where those are coming from. Since this has come up, I've got some problems with our fiscal note process. We all need to delve into that a little bit because we make decisions based on a fiscal note, and I've always assumed it was gospel truth. As legislators, maybe we need to have a critical eye on these fiscal notes a little bit. And I say, maybe they're going to lose some money, maybe not. We just heard from the last speaker that since this same policy was instigated a year ago in our treasurer's office, their returns have been stellar, some of the best ever. When this same legislation went through in the state that only has one star on their flag back in 2021, they estimated in their fiscal note that they would lose $700 million. As a look back, in 2024, they did a look back and found out they didn't lose anything. So we've been taking a lot of heat over this fiscal note. Let's, as legislators, be careful how much emphasis we put on that fiscal note. And let's make decisions that are based on the truth. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Heiner. Representative Nicholas, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're mixing information. I just need to help straighten out and get some facts out. So, by the way, I was the chair of the CapFin committee for 4 years, and I served on the CapFin for, I think, 7 or 8 years. And so I worked regularly with, and I was a liaison to the retirement for 4 years since I've been in the legislature. And then as the chair of appropriations, I have been constantly working on improving our rates of return and taking the ideas and suggestions from the good folks that invest our dollars in retirement and with our general fund and all of our funds are combined now $42 billion of funds to get the best rate of return with the least amount of risk for the best benefit of the state of Wyoming. And I would suggest to you that, well, let's talk about the process then. The process is both the retirement and the state treasurer's office, they're folks that invest our dollars, they sign contracts with managers. And in every single contract that they write and that they sign, there is language in and in those contracts, they say that you will invest, they sit down and they map out the investment policy and what they're interested in. And then they sign an agreement, a contract that says you will follow the guidelines of what we just agreed to in the contract. And you will always, in all instances, invest in a fiduciary way to bring the highest rate of return from the work that you do for us with the least amount of risk as described in this contract. Every contract says that for both entities. And those contracts have said that for 10 years plus. And so it's been those contracts over the last 10 years that has slowly and incrementally, because of the quality of the managers that they're hiring and the quality and caliber of the people we have working for the state of Wyoming, that has made the high returns that we're talking about in 2023 and 24 and 22 and now possible. It wasn't one political argument on how to draft the SLIBS review in August 23. It had nothing to do with it. In fact, the reason that that policy was agreed upon is because it does the same thing that already existed in our statutes that we, the legislature, passed in terms of fiduciary investment and highest rate of return. And that's what they've been doing, and that's what they contract to it. Not only verbally in their own policies, but in every contract they write with a manager. So I think it's a misleading narrative to suggest that somehow something new happened in 2023. It didn't. Nothing that changed the policies, the investment practices of the retirement board or the treasurer's investment team. It was simply a political statement, and it was worked out between the 5 electeds. And what's a little bit disheartening about some of the language we've had today is, in part, it kind of impugns to the employees that we have working for us, who have brought us to this level of high return. And it's such an amazing credit to the state of Wyoming that we have these folks bringing these type of returns to us. It's saving us from an income tax if we continue to invest well and if we continue to save and grow our funds. Because we do know that as the severance taxes diminish over time, we either have to cut the benefits we provide to our citizens, or we have to find another money source. And ideally, within 2020, 2030, 2040, instead of being 26 to 30% of our general fund, it'll be 50 or 60% if we do this right. It's no different than the whole concept of the generational funds that we're going to be talking about in the coming days. We are finding other ways to run this state when our current revenue sources reduce. But I just want to make sure that everyone understands what a wonderful job they're doing, and that this bill, as it was drafted, unquestionably would have lost us money, because we would have lost the best managers that we had that are out there, and they would have to reinvest in different places and make less money. They testified to that. These are honorable, trustworthy, incredible people. And their testimony, and by the way, we had on Monday, the opening day of session, the chief investment officer of the state of Wyoming had a seminar that he put on to help explain all this to you. There was only 11 people at that meeting. And so we missed a huge opportunity. And I think it's imperative, really, that all of us sit down and go through that presentation and further presentations, so we all understand what they're doing, how they're doing it, and why they do what they do, so we can reinstate our confidence in what they're doing and our confidence in our personnel. So thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Washut, for your first time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We keep hearing over and over and over again that all we're doing is codifying policy that's been in place and working successfully since 2023. And then we hear little caveats like, I hope this turns out well, right? But yet, when I talk to the elected official who deals with a lot of this stuff, there's still some trepidation. So we've come a long way. The amendments have been very, very positive, but yet there remains some trepidation, which tells me that there's something more in this bill than is captured in existing policy. So I guess my major question is, if this is being managed well by the executive branch through policy, what is it that we hope to gain by codifying it? And why now? Is there a real rush for us to change regulating these types of things from an administrative executive action to a statutory action? Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Washut. Representative Davis, first time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Along those same lines, if we've been operating under these rules, and the operating, or the action word in here is rules, since 23 and have gained 7.5% increase in our investments, what this tells me is, why do we want to change? Why do we want to codify it? Because if it's codified in the Green Book, we can't change that policy. If it's sitting out here in policy, we have the ability to move it, manipulate it, and apply it to what the industry is asking here. So once we put it into the Green Book, we only get a chance to visit another year from now, where these guys need to make these decisions on the fly. I just think we're messing up here, and I think we need to leave them with the flexibility in policy and rulemaking in order to address the needs of the state of Wyoming. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Davis. Anyone else for their first time? Second time. Oh, Representative Block, first time. Go ahead. For first.
First for second.
Thank you, Representative Block. Representative Larson. Lloyd.
As well, first for second, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Representative. Any others? First time. No. Okay. Any others for the first time? Seeing none? Second time. Anyone like to follow second time? Representative Larson for a second time.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and really want to avoid repeating what the most recent speaker said and a couple of the others, but I do have concern on being able to allow the investment groups in retirement and our investments be able to adjust that policy and our board that oversees investments as they need to, and then have our statutes and policy conflict, waiting for us to then come back and adjust or maybe not adjust. What I do appreciate about this conversation that we've had over the last week on this is the waters have been far less turbulent than they have been over the last 2 years as this conversation came up a couple of different times, and the good previous chairman from appropriation really handled all of that very well. But it was, we had to get something done now. You'll recall, we had to get something, there was bills and we had to get something done now. And if we didn't get it done now, there was, and even had our chief investment person initially feeling that we needed to do this. I had gone to a council where we have states that are impacted by energy, and we were taught about this. I come home, flags ablaze, and say, man, we've got to deal with this. Well, we did, and the right people did. That was those entities that set the policy for investing. That's where it belongs, and that's where I think we should leave it. appreciate the work that we've tried to do collectively to make all of this better, but it just really doesn't belong here, in my opinion. And I would, so if there's something here that, as we talk about, as we've cleaned it up, it really just is putting this policy as drafted by the executive branch into statute. And sometimes we need that, sometimes we don't. I don't know that, for the good chairman of judiciary, I don't know that this is the time to do that. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative. Any others for their second time? Any others? Representative Knapp.
Mr. Speaker, I'm very thankful for the debate we've had over the week. We've spent a lot of time on this bill. And it's my belief that in any of our agencies that we are policymakers. We are policymakers here. So when we write a bill and we have policy, typically we hand down some authority to different agencies or electeds to say, this is the policy and you get the rulemaking, right? This one happened a little bit in reverse. Now, we do have some statutes about definitions of fiduciary responsibility, but we didn't have exact language as to what rules were written by the treasurer and by our investment group. And so I think it's important that that is codified into legislation. Now, we've had some good things come out of the debate. We've made sure that the employees that we hire are not held liable financially for anything. We've done that. We've given the responsibility back to our treasurer and the investment funds managers to say, you write the contracts. It's not up to us to what you put in those contracts or what penalties you decide to have. You're still free to write those contracts. And I'm glad to hear from the good representative that this doesn't stop at August 2023. We've been doing this for years, for over 10 years. We've had this policy and we've gone by what we believe in to invest properly for our retirees. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing that we take rules that have been in place, codify those rules so that they do have that link to happen, but still have the control. They have the control to hire and fire. They have the control over the employee with the policy. They've got control with the fund managers to write whatever contracts they deem appropriate. We've given them that authority with this law, with this bill. So I think that's good as well. But I would say, if there's a question of why now, if you open up your laptop or your computer and just look up what is happening across the country, there is litigation left and right in states and in companies over and over about investment policy. And in our case, we're involved in litigation now with investment policy, with our fund managers. We're in a situation where we can't pull out our funds without a severe penalty in the tens of millions of dollars. And so this gives them, again, the opportunity to write that in the contract where we can at least recoup some money if something were to happen with an investment and we wanted to pull our money out. This gives them that ability to at least recoup some of our losses, which would be severe. So with this, I again applaud the body. I would like to thank the members and the representatives that took the time to carefully help draft this to the point where it's acceptable to our treasurer and acceptable to our fund managers. And I think it's a good bill going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Harshman, would you like to close us out?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the sponsor. Appreciate all the good response. And I I just want to say that tone at the top, though, is so important, and that's why I worry. Not worry, but in talking about the fiscal notes, in fact, the good member from the west side of the state who talked about fiscal notes, I think he's right on in that. Many times I'll read them and say, you know, there's an administrative impact, or we're going to need 3 more people to do this. And I always go, just reorganize somehow, get more efficient, do a little more. And I think we all do. And so I just kind of, And then so when I read this fiscal note, and only one of the agencies with a third of the, or about 25% of the, if you counted all that together, over 40 billion responded. But they both said, treasurer that responsible for the over 30 billion, it'd result in decreasing revenues. And I think, you know, when you look at what 1 basis point does to that amount of money, we're talking serious. And so I just want to be really super careful that all the work we've done from the 4x10 days when we started years ago, and $2 billion in the permanent trust fund, $1 billion in the common school, to where we've come now on the road, the trajectory we are on to make Wyoming, like I told you the other day, we are now number 1, Mr. Speaker, in per capita returns. Incredible. And boy, I don't know. So as we make policy, I've always gone under this mantra, and I was taught very early on when I first came here, man, it's trying to solve problems. But the big one is, don't create any problems. I just don't want to create any problems with a bill like this, and that's my deal. So I hope we're solving a problem, and I appreciate the amendments. And I think particularly the one from the Big Horn Basin that took that 3X out of there might give this bill some legs. So with that, Mr. Speaker, thank you, members. I respectfully withdraw the amendment.
Without objection from the body, the amendment has been withdrawn. Members, you are voting on House Bill House Bill 80, having been read 3 separate times. The question is, shall the bill pass? Reading, I can't even think. Chief Clerk, please call the roll.
Alaman. Andrew. Angelos. Banks. Bear. Brady. Bratton. Brown Gary. Brown Landon. Byron. Campbell Elisa. Campbell Kevin. Chestick. Clauston. Connolly. Davis. Eklund excused. Erickson. Filer. Geringer. Guggenmoss. Haroldson. Harshman. Heiner. Heft. Jarvis. Johnson. Kelly. Knapp. Larson Lloyd. Larson JT. Lawley. Lean. Locke. Lucas. McCann. Nicholas. Ottman. Pendergraft. Posey. Provenza. Riggins, excused. Rodriguez Williams. Schmid. Sherwood. Singh. Smith. Storr. Strock. Stivar. Tarver. Thayer. Washut. Wasserberger. Webb. Weber. Worf. Williams. Winter. Wiley. Yin. Speaker.
Aye.
Are there any changes? Guggenmoss, are there any changes? Closing vote. Vote closed. 44 aye, 16 no, 2 excused.
By your vote, having received an affirmative vote of the majority of the members of the elected House, House Bill 80 has passed the House.
Mr. Speaker, privilege of the floor.
Representative Gugemas, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I could draw your attention to the South Gallery, it is my honor to introduce the seniors of the Riverton High School government class, along with their teacher, Mr. Daniel McLean. Please join me in welcoming them to the People's House.
Welcome to the House. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, as you probably all well are aware, we are at 3.5 bells in the afternoon. So I don't want you to be shocked or amazed if this is a late evening. We have got to move through some legislation if we can. I want to encourage all of you to debate as much as you need. But quite honestly, ladies and gentlemen, we really do need to try to move through some of this if we can see these bills through the committee of the whole. So we have Representative Thayer. Please come and work committee of the whole. A majority floor leader. No, majority. Whoa. In my effort to always try to do things exactly backwards and too fast, majority floor leader.
Mr. Speaker, hard to clamber above that excitement. I move that the House resolve itself into committee of the whole.
You have heard the majority floor leader's motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. Welcome, Representative Thayer.
The Committee of the Whole will please come to order. The first bill for our consideration is House Bill 93. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 93, sponsored by Agriculture, Protect Wyoming's Lands Act. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred House Bill 93, Protect Wyoming's Lands Act, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Davis, Eklund, Johnson, Ottman, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Noes, Representatives Provenza. Representative Winter, Chairman.
Okay. You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Winter?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number 92 do pass.
No amendments.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill 93.
Thank you.
What do I do next?
Also, I would ask that the representative from the western part of the state will talk about that bill. Thank you.
Okay, after he. Representative Schmidt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So yeah, House Bill 93. As you probably read, the bill seeks to prohibit natural asset companies, or NACs, from selling credits through national security exchanges as specified. So I've done a little research about NACs, so what I have to say might be a little redundant, but since I've done the work, I'm going to go ahead and let you have it. So actually, what is a natural asset company? A natural asset company is a type of business entity designed to manage, monetize, and preserve the value of natural resources and ecosystems. The concept ties the economic value of nature, such as forests, wetlands, marine areas, farmland, and clean water to financial markets, allowing investors to buy stakes in our natural assets. It can do the same with carbon sequestration, biodiversity, and other ecosystem services. So where did these NACs come from? They were created by a financial innovation company dedicated to creating sustainable, market-based solutions to environmental challenges. This organization then partnered with our agency, our federal agency that oversees our publicly traded companies, and the folks on Wall Street to they considered a proposal in 2023 to allow the listings of NACs on our stock market, our stock exchange. This initiative faced public scrutiny due to concerns about potential foreign control over U.S. natural resources. They withdrew the proposal, but discussions around NACs and possible foreign investments continue to this day. So let us not forget the idea of NACs were withdrawn, but they're not eliminated and they haven't been forgotten. If they do resurface and shares are sold, NACs potentially would hold the rights to productivity and health of our natural assets, actively managing, maintaining, and restoring our ecosystems to enhance their view of ecological value. Who would most likely be buying these shares? It would most likely be large corporations, foreign companies, and potential foreign adversaries. For the very reason because our natural assets have been estimated here in the state of Wyoming and nationally to be into the billions and trillions of dollars. Now, I'm not aware of any NAC activity in Wyoming to date. So I see this bill as a very proactive measure to prohibit the control of our natural ecosystems and assets from foreign owners, adversaries, and large corporations. So with that, I would urge a yes vote on this bill. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. My apologies. I was a no vote on committee, mainly because these things don't exist. As the presenter talked about, it was a consideration under the former administration. Under the current administration, there's really no reality in which this happens. So we're putting language in green books that, I mean, we could put in our green books that we want to ban Yetis from trading wood piles or something as well, but this NACs don't exist. They failed under the last administration. I don't see any friendly opportunities to make this happen. So I guess vote your conscience, but it really doesn't do anything.
Representative Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I think we have seen some of this maybe coming into Wyoming already, where we've had environmental groups bidding on oil field leases with no intention of drilling. So to say that it isn't here, I don't know. I think this is a good bill. I think this is a piece of legislation to be proactive instead of reactive.
Representative Connolly.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Sorry about that. I'm in favor of this bill. I think sometimes we are not as, like the other speaker said, as proactive as we need to be in these matters. May not happen, but it could, and I think with what this NACs do would be really harmful to our state. And I believe our elected official that handles our treasury, if that's a way to put it, was one of the ones that did help to fight and send letters and notifications to the SEC and our federal delegation in opposition to try to get this stopped. So I'm in favor of it.
Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On and for this bill. The NAC concept still lives, even though it died a temporary death with the SEC. And so I do think it's a good thing for Wyoming to be forward thinking here, because the idea is not going to go away. Using a lot of money and influence to direct assets in places like Wyoming, and we don't want any part of it. I too participated in sending some comments and complaints to the SEC, and to also work with our federal delegation to stop it. And that's how it stopped. Will remain stopped the next 4 years? Probably. But there's another 4 years after that, and another after that, and another after that. There's nothing about the concept that's dead. It just lies in wait. So on and for the bill. Thank you to the bringer for bringing it.
Further discussion? Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Winter's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 93 do pass. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion hit House Bill 93 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 41. The reading of the clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 41, sponsored by Representative Lawley. Environmental quality, irrevocable letters of credit. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 9, Minerals, Business and Economic Development, to whom is referred House Bill 41, Environmental quality, irrevocable letters of credit. Respect the report, same back to the House with a recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Schmidt, Tarver. Excused, Representative Weber. Representative Heiner, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Heiner?
Madam Chairwoman, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number 41 do pass, and I further move the adoption of the Standing Committee amendments. I turn the explanation of the bill to the good representative from the land of sugar.
You have heard the motion of Standing Committee Amendment Number HB 00. I recognize Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Members, I'm presenting to you House Bill 41, and I'm asking for your favorable consideration. This bill represents a request from a constituent. We all get those, and we all try to act on those. And one of the things I like about the Wyoming legislature and the kind of communities we live in is that we know the people in our communities, and when they come to us and say this is a problem for us, and we think you can fix it in statute because there's some confusion about it. And so this is what this represents in my attempt to meet the needs of my constituent, and you guys have a chance to help me with that today. So what happened is I received some communication from a constituent who is a credit union in our community, and they had a client, a business member that really wanted to participate in some DEQ bonding and using a letter of credit issued by that credit union. And DEQ had a little bit of a scratching of the head over that because the statute wasn't clear in the definition of bank, and so they did not allow them to issue it in that case. I subsequently worked with DEQ, who admitted that they didn't have a particular problem with a credit union issuing those irrevocable letters of credit. If you don't know what one of those is, it's a financial instrument that's used in lieu of a bond, and it's an arrangement you work out with your financial institution, and they issue that irrevocable letter of credit to work like a bond would work, to assure that the work would be done timely and the cleanup would be done. So what my constituent suggested is maybe we should bring a little clarity into the statute, and that's exactly what this bill does. DEQ has had no objection to it. They actually helped me write it because there was part of the confusion lied in that they also manage through primacy some federal bonding. And on federal bonding, it's very clear it has to be a U.S. bank. And so there were sometimes they said no, and there were sometimes when credit unions wanted to issue some irrevocable letters of credit in some of these situations that GEQ does handle, they were uncertain if they could do it there since they couldn't do it in the federal. That was part of the confusion, I believe. But I did work with DEQ, and we end up with what we have before you, which is House Bill 41. And let me, I think the amendment has been moved, but let me speak to the amendment. The amendment, as you'll see, it's House Bill 41, I don't know what, the amendment number 1 that we did in the committee. There we go. What it does is it simply corrects a title or in the bill, and if you'll look on page 2, line 1, we clarified this for coal mining operations. And we've strike the language that was there. And just for clarity, again, to the different situations in which an irrevocable letter of credit can be used from a credit union. So that's what the bill does. And again, I'm standing ready for questions.
Is there any questions on Standing Committee Amendment number 1? Discussion? Question? Question has been called. All of those in favor on amendment, Standing Committee Amendment number 1, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Opposed, say no. The Standing Committee Amendment number 1 has been adopted. We are now back on the bill. Is there any further discussion on the bill? Representative J.T. Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just want to stand on and in favor of this bill. I think this provides industry in Wyoming just another option, another financial tool as they seek to develop their business in Wyoming. And I just want to make sure that it's clear that I stand in favor of that. Thank you.
Representative Ottman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a point of clarification, because I wasn't in all your meetings. On page 2, section B, and like I said, just for clarification, it says, on land that is not owned or operated by the United States or a federal agency, in lieu of a bond, the operator or operator's principal may deposit federally insured certificates of deposit payable to DEQ, or cash or government securities by a bank or credit union to do business in the United States. Can you, is that like a foreign investor or a foreign company that's coming over here? If you could just clarify that for me, please.
Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's a great question. That goes to what I mentioned a moment ago about that there are some federal bonding that DEQ does under primacy from the U.S. government, and that's one of the exceptions. That's what it's saying, is that you can use these irrevocable letters of credit from a credit union, except on US government land and things that are owned by the federal government, because they have their own bonding requirements, and that's what our DEQ follows. So that's what actually that part is telling us.
Is there, Representative Campbell?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Quick question, because I really don't know enough about this. On page 3, line 2, bonding for solid waste management facilities, does that include our municipalities that have those solid waste facilities? I'm not sure if they fall in the same category, if they have another regulations that they have to follow.
Representative Lawley.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Again, another great question. It applies to if the DEQ is bonding the project. So these are uniquely related to operations with the Department of Environmental Quality. I think I can say that because they're in the bill. That's what it's telling you. If it was a DEQ project, then yes, it could be bonded this way. But if it's a local project, they would follow their local bonding. So thank you.
Is there any other further discussion? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Heiner's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 41 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? No. House Bill 41 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for consideration is House Bill 40. The reading of the clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 40, sponsored by Revenue, Sales and Use Tax Revisions. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 3, Revenue, to whom is referred House Bill 40, Sales and Use Tax Revisions, respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Storer, Stivar, Worf. Noes, Representative Brown. Excused, Representative Riggins. Representative Locke, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Locke?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rise to report, it do so with a recommendation that House Bill 40 do pass. And for the reading of the bill, I yield the floor to Representative Lucas for the explanation of the bill. Can I say that? Oops, did I break the rules? I yield to the representative from this county. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, Chair. So House Bill 40 is a committee bill from the Revenue Committee, and it's a cleanup bill. It is conforming language that will make a little clearer and clean up some of the passages from House Bill 197 from last year's legislative session. It was the primary focus of a 2023 interim topic that was related to clarifying sales and use tax administration practices in Wyoming. So sales and use tax statutes mirror each other. And we have a few things that kind of fell through the cracks, and they are contained in this bill. I'm not going to read all of that to you. I'm just going to hit the high spots and answer questions as you may have them. All of the proposed changes in this bill are currently already in statute on the sales tax side. So we're talking about the usage tax side. Not having the same administration processes for sales tax and use tax is confusing for our vendors, our taxpayers, but also for the Department of Revenue as well. Notably, on page 2, along with the Department of Revenue rules clarifying the department does not intend to visit lemonade stands and garage sales to collect use tax. We spent a fair amount of time on that in committee, and they agree. Notably, one of the things this bill does is it removes the voluntary licensing for out-of-state vendors who really only obtain a license with the Department of Revenue so that they can gain business legitimacy, but they never do business in Wyoming. So they have the ability to buy at wholesale prices, but they never sell anything in Wyoming. And so that creates an administrative burden for the Department of Revenue, and it doesn't earn us any money. I would entertain any questions that you may have, but I do encourage that you give this a favorable pass. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Representative Ward. Chairman Washit.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So just a question on the definition of regular. When we're talking about a regular activity of a garage sale, those sorts of things, how frequently does someone have to hold a garage sale before they become a regular activity?
Representative Lucas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. There wasn't an exact number discussed, but we agreed that it was probably about 3. But it depends also on whether the organization conducting this sale does this for a living. And if it was just a casual lemonade stand or a casual garage sale, something that you don't do regularly, that it would not be attractive to the committee, to the department, and they really wouldn't investigate that at all.
Any further discussion? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Heiner, Chairman Locke's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 40 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 40 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for consideration is House Bill 75.
House Bill 75, sponsored by Representative Clouston, coal severance tax rate. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 9, Minerals, Business, and Economic Development, to whom was referred House Bill 75, coal severance tax rate, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Campbell, Heiner, Knapp, Larson, Lawley, Riggins, Schmid, Tarver. Excuse, Representative Weber. Representative Heiner, Chairman.
No amendments. You have heard the reading. Clerk, what is your pleasure, Chairman Heiner?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number 75 do pass. There are no amendments, and I turn it over for the explanation to the good representative from where the rock burns.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh. Chairman Clouston. Did I say it right? Chairman Clouston.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
Sorry, Representative.
Yes. Maybe someday, right? That's, Colleagues, I present House Bill 75 and I ask for your favorable consideration. What this bill does is it decreases the severance tax on coal from 6.5% to 6%. And thus it equalizes what coal pays in severance tax to line that with oil and natural gas. So they would be all at the same rate. Wyoming coal does not only compete against natural gas in solar and wind, but we're seeing more competition from coal from other states, especially as we see our coal market shrink. By this reducing cost to our coal industry, this measure seeks to enhance Wyoming's business environment, making it more sustainable and attractive to invest in Wyoming. This bill has a projected fiscal impact of $9 million, which is just a fraction of over the $600 million a year coal pays to our state in Wyoming. Our coal also pays over $130 million a year to the Black Lung Disability Trust Fund, and all that money is going out of state. Our coal also pays another $180 million a year to federal minerals in royalties. We expect this bill will add an estimated $1 to $3 million to the bottom line of each of our coal mines, enabling these companies to invest in their equipment, their workforce, and ultimately in our state. Ladies and gentlemen, I sincerely thank you for your consideration, and I respectfully ask for your support on this. Thank you.
Is there any discussion on the bill? Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. So members, if you look at historic legislation in 2022, House Bill 105, some of the members in the body were here in 2022. So we did this exact same bill. We dropped it 0.5%. It's costing us $10 million a year. I mean, the same as the fiscal note now is the same as the fiscal note then. What I want to know is that has that happened? Those arguments are the same exact arguments that were made in 2022, that we'd get more investment, we'd get more coal, and then we'd actually, you know, the fiscal note would be wrong, and we'd actually be making more money because we'd be making more coal taking more coal out of the ground. Because every time we lower this, it's never, ever, ever going to go back up. You know it, I know it, never going to go back up. So before we give $10 million a year, every single year, is there actually a return on our investment from 2022? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Representative Landon Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. On and for this bill, ladies and gentlemen, and I can tell you, after being here for 8 years, there was a good representative from coal country who brought this bill every single year. We called him the good doctor, you know, and he pushed this bill every single year. And it wasn't until, and I was a hard no on that bill every single time because of what the good minority floor leader was just saying. I was so frustrated with the fact that why would we cut our tax base? Why would we cut our feet out from underneath ourselves? And then I was out talking to a good friend of mine that was out here, and he pointed it out to me. He says, "You're always talking about diversifying the tax base." Well, if you take out this $10 million, what does that make you do? It makes you find that $10 million somewhere else. And that was like a complete mind flip for me. And that's exactly what I started thinking about. So I'm on in favor of this because what this makes us start doing is going, where are we going to find that $10 million? And do we have to continue to rely on our mineral industries to keep us afloat? Now, the good minority floor leader's not wrong. We'll probably never see this go back up, but I'm okay with that. Why? Because our coal industry has worked their tails off to keep this state afloat for as long as they have, and they continue to do it. We're also seeing reduction in the coal production right now. So for every $10 million we're saving off this severance tax, that's saving a couple of jobs up there in coal country. That's saving some people's jobs and some livelihoods, and we heard all about that this morning. So on in favor of this, and I hope you can support this as well.
Representative Knapp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On and for the bill. I was there on the floor helping the good doctor the last time this came up in 2022, and times were different then even. Things were a little more dire. We had seen furloughs of thousands of positions. And what did they do with that reduction the last time? They were able to rehire. They were able to keep benefits, keep the industry going. This time, I'm a little more excited. I believe that this levels the playing field, which is what we're looking for in our industries too. Leveling the playing field so that the market can decide. And what this does is it does exactly that. We're still in a time of furloughing. Production is going down. With this new administration, I am positive. I'm positive that we can increase production, hopefully, and get some new power plants built across the nation. But I believe this is important because it levels the playing field for our industries.
Representative Brown, or Davis.
Madam Chairman, could I have a privilege of the floor?
You may.
Legislators, if you look above us, and we're surrounded by many gentlemen here that are representing the counties of Wyoming, our county commissioners, I would like you to stand up and give them a round of applause.
Representative Lawley?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I want to pick up where the last speaker, my friend from the land of the coal, who made some excellent points. I support this bill because we are doing everything we can to help our legacy industries during this time. This is a way to help the coal industry, to give them a little bit more resources to invest back into their businesses, and it does equal up with regard, particularly with natural gas, what we do there. And so I do think it's good policy. I think we're going to see an increase in the production of coal under the new administration, and I feel like this is the right thing to do at this time, on and for the bill.
Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Earlier today, we also did another thing where we cut a bunch of revenue from our budget. So I just want to make sure everyone's aware, we're cutting $26.1 million a year from our budget. 26.1 over 3 different accounts. And so we need to go find that money somewhere else. Well, it looks like this body's not finding money anywhere. We're just throwing it away. So there's no guarantee that the money is going to go back to our communities or do anything for us. It might just go straight back into the pockets of the CEOs. No, vote no.
Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to say that the property tax cut that we offered earlier today does not come to the state, that this cut will come out of the state's budget, but it is fair for our legacy industries to also have a break on and for this legislation.
Representative Connolly.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I am in favor of this bill. We have folks in my district that have been employed by the coal industry, and I don't want to see that crash. So I'm hoping that this will be the help that our coal industry needs to keep them going.
Any further discussion? Representative Clauston.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments. I appreciate those. I will tell you, I have a letter of full support from my county commissioners, and I want to thank them for that. Investing in our coal industry tells everyone that the state of Wyoming is investing in Wyoming. And that's a great message to these companies that know that we are supporting coal, and they should continue to invest in their employees and continue to invest in Wyoming. So thank you again. I hope you'll support this.
Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. So I was able to get some numbers from our service office about how much money we have given to the industry since 2022. So FY 2023, we gave them $13.3 million. 2024, we gave them $10.5 million. Fiscal year 2025, we're on track to give them $10.1 million based on the production that we've had so far. So that's actually on track of going down. So I'm curious on where that $25 million that we've already given to the industry, has it gone to keep employees? Has it gone for more? Has it gone for more equipment, or has it just made their stock prices continue to go up? I want to support the workers and communities of Wyoming, but I want to make sure that the money we're spending is fiscally sound and it's going to our communities. It's not going to go to owners that aren't in our communities necessarily, or stockholders that, you know, could even be other countries. So curious on what that would look like. And just for everyone and the public as well, I think the whole reason that severance tax exists is because the resource that is under the ground belongs to all of the people of Wyoming, right? And so that's why we have a tax to say, okay, you can have that stuff under the ground, but you have to also contribute to the state because we still own it. So that's why we have a severance tax. The more we cut that, the more we're giving away a resource that we're never going to get back, right? For less money in return. And so we do have a lot of it, and we do, and I remember that argument from 2022 as well, but it's just something to think about in the back of your head. How much is it worth giving our resources away? Are we getting a return? Is it actually going back to our communities? Right now, based on the tax revenue that we've seen given to them, the production's still going down. I would love to say that this tax cut would make the production bounce back, but 22 says that wasn't the case then, and I'm not sure that's going to be the case now. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Chairman Bayer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Rise in support of this bill. I've put my name on this bill, but I also put my name on that bill back in 2022, and I remember that fondly. Our colleague who for so many years had brought that bill, and seeing the joy on his face when he got that passed, knowing that his constituents that he had worked so hard for were going to enjoy that relief. And I really applaud the bringer of this bill doing it again and creating this equality amongst our different minerals. But to the last speaker, I would just point out that, you know, this beautiful building, these beautiful desks, the skylight that lets the light in the afternoon, all of these things are truly here because of this industry and the tax that they've provided to us. I don't see it as us giving them anything. I would kindly and gently push back on that idea that we give them. They have worked and extracted this mineral from the ground, put it on coal cars, sent it all over the country, and made this a proud state with one of the best reserve accounts of any state in the nation. We are more financially sound because of this industry. And I'm proud to reduce the burden that we put on them at this time. On and for the bill.
Representative Tarver.
Madam Chairwoman, thank you. I rise in support of this bill. Our extraction industry has been attacked the last few years, and they're starting to wobble. They need some help, and this is honestly the least we can do, and I think it's for sure what we should do.
Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On and for, and I think members, just the history of this, you know, you think when our governor that we've named a scholarship after and went out and recruited the coal companies here, and when he ran against the severance tax and then supported it and then brought them here, because they really probably should have been to the state north of us. It's more of that resource in the state, less overburden. And it's just been incredible. You know, we had a severance tax of 12%, 8%, all this economic impact to this, particularly this county where this coal is. I remember as a kid in that county, I mean, you had cattle guards on the little roads going through town. It was just such a small little town, and then Wyoming's newest town, you know, grew up in there, and it's just been so much change to the state. So here we are. 2015, we're on the cusp of mining 500 million tons. It's incredible. And then 4 years later, we're just on the verge of dropping under 200 million tons. Incredible decline and chaos in this industry. And a lot of it, you know, we can say, but really, this resurgence, this surge of natural gas that allowed this switching, and then all these things, it was kind of a perfect storm. So I think to lower this down, we've been at 7, we dropped it to 6.5, put it on par with these other generation fuels that are competing against it, I think makes sense. And hopefully we can hang on a little longer. And I think this country can come back around and realize that, gosh, our newest coal plants, we built one in this state and one in a state with 1 star on their flag. They're the cleanest plants there are. And we ought to be building them. We ought to be building 1 a month. And should be exporting. We started the coal port export litigation fund in the floor of this House. And so we can't reverse all that, but I think this little step sends an important message from this body. It's not like it was in 2015 when it was 500 million tons, but this little bit we can do, I think, sends a very strong message. So thank the bringer of the bill. Appreciate your support.
Representative Yin? Okay. Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Heiner's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 75 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 75 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 69. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 69, sponsored by corporations, foreign adversary ownership or control of business entities. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions, to whom's referred House Bill 69, foreign adversary ownership or control of business entities, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Yin. Excused, Representative Weber. Representative Knapp, Chairman.
You have heard the you have heard the reading clerk. What is your pleasure, Chairman Knapp?
Madam Chair, thank you. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number 69 do pass. And for explanation of the bill, I will turn it over to the good representative with the beautiful mountains on the western part of the state.
Reading of the bill, Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. So I bring before you, members, House Bill 69. It is the best and easiest bill for us to pass in Committee of the Whole. And so to tell you about the bill, basically, this is a committee bill that corporations did over the interim with the official that deals with our business filings. And that official came to us with some thoughts on ideas on how we can ensure security in a lot of our business filings. This is one of the proposals that came out of that. The proposal is essentially to allow that official to administratively, in his office, administratively dissolve filings from foreign adversaries. And so what is foreign adversaries, you ask? So members, in the bill, it's defined under a 15 CFR 791.4A. And so this is a list that is in our federal regulations that lists countries that are defined by the cabinet member who deals with our commerce, that has identified countries that are adverse to our national security or to the safety of U.S. persons. And so there's a list of 6 countries right now on this list. If you can Google that regulation, it'll bring you the 6 countries. They're the countries that you know that are enemies of our country and are foreign adversaries. And so again, all this does is give the power to our good official to be able to administratively dissolve those companies when they know that that company is under the control of a foreign adversary. And that's all. And so I ask for your favorable consideration. Thank you, members.
Discussion on the bill. Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Knapp's motion that when the committee of the whole rises to report, it does so with a recommendation that House Bill 69 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 69 has passed the committee of the whole. The next bill for consideration is.
Madam Chair.
Oh.
Privilege of the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair. I know we recognized the county commissioners that were here. One of my county commissioners was not here at that time, so I would like to ask the body to recognize Commissioner Anderson, over here to your left, my right. Welcome to the House.
Chairman Heiner.
Chairwoman, privilege of the floor, please.
Yes.
Well, there was a latecomer as well. To the west, we have one of the commissioners from Lincoln County. I believe you're the chair as well, right? This is Kent Conley from Lincoln County, from my district. Warm welcome. Welcome to the House.
The next bill, House Joint Resolution for your consideration is HJ002. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Joint Resolution 2, sponsored by Agriculture, Foreign Adversaries, Prohibited Property Ownership. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 5, Agriculture, State and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom is referred House Joint Resolution 2, Foreign Adversaries, Prohibited Property Ownership, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Davis, Eklund, Johnson, Ottman, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Noes, Representative Provenza. Representative Winter, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Winter?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'll try to do this right this time. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number House Joint Resolution 0002 do pass. And I've asked the representative from the northern part of the Bighorn Basin to describe this bill. Thank you.
Representative Banks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this comes out of the Ag Committee that we worked over the interim. And if you recall, we've had a couple of these bills come through the House before, and there was always that notion of, well, is it constitutional? Is it not? Are we flirting with it? Are we on the edge? And so we tried to do a number of bills throughout the interim that would address this, and we thought, well, instead of questioning where we're at on it, we decided, well, let's just put it to the voters to put something in the Constitution that gives us the authority to address this growing issue. So this would amend Article 1, Section 29 of the Wyoming Constitution to limit foreign adversaries, and it's the same definition as we just heard in the previous piece of legislation. Foreign adversaries of the United States would be prevented from owning property in the state of Wyoming. And why is that important? Well, of course, first, national security. It just doesn't make sense that we're, besides the state directly to our south, all of our neighbors have laws that restrict foreign adversarial property ownership. So it just makes sense Wyoming would follow suit and be able to protect our important infrastructure that's important not only to the state but to the nation from these foreign adversaries. And as well as, economic sovereignty. Currently, we have states that half of their alfalfa crop gets shipped to one of these adversarial countries. And that's not right. That's strangling our own resources that could be for American cattle or sheep. And so we decided the best way to go about this would be put a resolution out to the voters and then have legislation come later with, as a trigger bill, that if this is passed by the voters, then the legislature has something in place that would have these restrictions in place, thus protecting our economic sovereignty, our national security, and be able to know that we are protecting people of our state and our nation from people that really would do us harm, given the chance. And so I think it's in the best interest of the state and nation that we put this up to the voters to decide if this is something that the legislature should move forward with. So with that, I'll stand for questions, Madam Chairman.
Representative Chestek.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I just have a minor question. It deals with one word, and maybe I'm not understanding why the word is in the bill. It's on line 10, the word taxation. Everything else in that list, possession, enjoyment, or descent of real property, are rights that property owners have. I don't know that any property owner would claim taxation as a right. That right belongs to the government, not to the property owner. So foreign adversaries, how can they have a right to taxation? I don't know. My concern is that by putting that word in the bill, are we inadvertently making these properties tax exempt? Because we're not going to be, we're accepting taxation out of the list of rights, and maybe we're doing something we didn't intend to do. That's my question.
Representative Banks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So that's just language that matches with already the constitutional provision. If you look up in the section that's already current, it has that same existing language, possession, taxation, enjoyment, and descent of property. So I think the intent behind that was just match the existing language already in the Constitution.
Representative Larson.
Thank you. Could you help me understand who determines who the adversaries are? We've had a couple of bills that we use some federal guidelines on, and just want to make sure that we don't have arbitrarily, as a legislature, decide one day that we're going to pick who the adversary is.
Representative Chestek.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman, and thank you for that explanation. I think the list in Section A is doing different work than the list in Section B. In Section A, we're talking about what may the government do. It can't distinguish for the purposes of possession, taxation, enjoyment, or descent. It can't, no distinctions can be made between them, so we have to treat them all fairly. B, I think, is creating rights in the owners, or talking about the rights that owners ordinarily would have. I think it's doing different work. I guess I can address this possibly on a second reading amendment, but I have a problem. I think there's we can work on a problem, on working that problem out. I think there's a difference there between the two.
Representative Connolly.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just have a question. Would this affect, I know we've got some foreign-owned businesses, and I'm wondering right now if this were to pass, how that would deal with those foreign-owned entities.
Representative Banks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So first to the determination. So that's found in 15 CFR 791.4, and that's the federal definition that was kind of the same used in the last piece of legislation. It lists those out very specifically, because that's one of the problems we were running in over the summer, especially with the mining industry and other industries around the state, was they wanted to nail down a very specific definition. And so with their help, we're able to find that this definition is the one that's going to most be favorable to them and favorable to how we want to go about doing this. And again, with the taxation thing, I think, yeah, we can sit down with the good lawyers we have and see what exactly that'll look like, and see if it needs to be fixed, or see if the intent is still, our intent is still good there. So yeah, happy to look at that.
Representative Connolly.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Maybe I didn't ask it clearly enough. If we already have someone, that country on that list that already owns mining entities in Wyoming, how will we deal with it if we do this? How will they be disposed of, for lack of a better word, if there's already previous ownership?
Representative Banks.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So this just puts this language in the Constitution. The legislature would have to enact rules and enact laws later that would come about this. This doesn't authorize divestiture or anything like that, or anything. It just puts it to the voters to put this language into the Constitution that would allow us to go forward later with rules and legislation.
Is there any further questions on the bill? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Winter's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation of House Joint Resolution 002 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Joint Resolution 2 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 33. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 33, sponsored by Transportation, Vehicle Sales and Use Tax Distribution, Highway Fund. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom is referred House Bill 33, Vehicle Sales and Use Tax Distribution, Highway Fund, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas, Posey, Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman. This bill was re-referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations.
You have heard the
Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 2, Appropriations, to whom is referred House Bill 33, Vehicle Sales and Use Tax Distribution Highway Fund, respectfully report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Sherwood, Smith. Representative Bear, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 33 do pass. And with the explanation of the bill, I turn it over to the freshman representative from this county.
Representative Geringer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill is a reallocation of resources to help protect our roads and other infrastructure against the continual decline in condition. It uses the sales and use tax on motor vehicles and trailers that use our roads, so there's a good nexus there. And it reallocates just the state portion, not the local portion, from the general fund to the highway fund in the amount of about $70 million a year. So the reason for this is pretty simple. Funding, and maybe it's not that simple, but funding is not keeping up with need to the tune of about $400 million per year, as we've heard from the department that manages our roads. That's nearly $500 million short on what is needed to keep our infrastructure in reasonable condition. I think you can figure out without a calculator that $70 million a year from this is just a far cry, a drop in the bucket from the amount needed just to keep up. As background, 13 years ago, the department switched from reconstruction and improvement to preservation mode in an effort to survive. This means that instead of rebuilding roads that might be 40, 50 years old, they instead grind off the top 2 inches and resurface. Or in the words of the director, spread peanut butter on the cracker that is the road. This means that instead of expanding passing lanes or making major safety updates like they'd like to do around the state, and many of the representatives around the state have identified, they're really just focusing on keeping roads from deteriorating too quickly. We all know how critical our transportation system is. Our legacy extractive industries highly depend on a good highway network. Our ag industry, tourism, first responders, recreationalists all depend on a good highway network. So this bill starts to help fill the pothole, if you will, in the budget of our agency that manages transportation. I would ask for your favorable consideration of this bill.
Discussion on the bill. Representative Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I also sit on this committee, and we've been working this issue for 2 years. We were tasked by Management Council to find, an answer to a problem that we all have. Our roads are degrading and they're deteriorating, and we need them for commerce. We need them to get our kids around. We need them to get here to the Capitol. You heard this thing about shave and pave. Basically, that's resurfacing every other year, every summer when we're trying to travel, and then we're down to 1 lane, right? Everybody's experienced that before. Well, after a lot of time and consideration, we found an avenue of funding, and that's to divert vehicle sales tax over to YDOT. And we did this because, again, we wanted to find a way that it was applied and everything kind of balanced out right, apples to apples, not oranges to oranges. Most of the vehicles that are going to be sold, the sales tax for those vehicles that are going to be used on the roads kind of makes common sense. If we're going to have to find a avenue for funding, this would make sense. Thank you.
Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise in support of this bill. I think it's a good bill. It doesn't do everything that we need to have done, but it's a step in the right direction.
Representative Harshman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you look at the bills that came out of this committee, and sometimes, I served on this committee as a freshman, and we heard the same thing. That was a quarter century ago. Yeah, sounds kind of weird to say that, but same issues. And then we had coal bed methane, we had the Jonah field. Boom, our revenue took off like crazy. We were doing, in that first decade of this century, $250 million in general fund in the budget for YDOT. And we did the same thing for game and fish. I guess I probably shouldn't say that. For the agency that does our roads and the agency that does our wildlife. And we were just spending all this general fund money because we had it. And all those agencies had always been off of general fund, self-funding. And so first thing that crashed was natural gas, 2009-10. $10 an MCF, down to the pennies. Coal was doing great though. But this whole thing started putting pressure. And you can see the size of our budget, the number of employees, general fund budget since 2002. We have a smaller budget now than we did then, 500 less employees. But we've got all this stuff out of the general fund. We did a statewide lodging tax to get the Department of Tourism out of the general fund, 30 million there and so on. So now we're proposing to take a department, one of the biggest that has the most federal money of any department, and now start giving them what we heard was just a small smattering of their problem. Well, this creates a big problem in the general fund. It's $140 million in a biennial budget. That's enough to fund several agencies. I would just urge caution. I've always said, let's take, this road that goes from west to east, the Great American Highway named after our president, 402 miles in the state. From west to east, 402 miles. So what you always want to do, just a smart thing, is because fuel tax is set at the rack, about 5 companies, 5 places where fuel tax is set. It's how it works. It's not really done here. And it's a big conglomerate. There's very few small mom and pops anymore in Wyoming. Got a couple in Casper. But even in my town, Madam Chair, and in this town, the price of gasoline is 20 cents different from west side to east side. Well, that's not a fuel tax issue, right? That's the enterprise system. That's free enterprise. So let's just talk about what really is a solution. So when you look at our neighbor to the east, I think it's the Cornhusker State, their fuel tax is 30.4 cents a gallon. You look at our neighbor where they have a big salty body of water where that long highway in Wyoming starts. Their fuel tax is 37.5 cents. So you have 37.5 over here on our west, and then you have 30.4 on our east. 37 and 30. And every truck that runs down there that does the damage of 1,300,000 or 1,300 cars, it's a crazy number. You can't even. Every truck has a license plate that says apportioned. So what does that mean? It doesn't matter where they fuel up. They fueled up in the state to our east or the state to our west. All 402 miles. They're paying fuel tax at Wyoming's rate. How many of you know our rate? 24 cents. So we got 30 to our east, 37 to our west, and we're at 24. So those guys can fuel up over there, and they drive across Wyoming and get a tax break. And then we're asking to take money out of the Department of Health, Department of Family Services, from you name it. You name whatever you got in your town to subsidize that. I've always said the fuel tax we ought to be looking at those two and be about right even with those two. And it isn't going to affect the gas price in Wyoming. When we raised the fuel tax in 2013, 10 cents, university study 6 months later said the price of fuel went up 1 penny because of the 10-cent fuel tax. So it's all figured out on these national racks. We're not even, our entire population is not even a suburb of the city down south of us 100 miles. They could care less about our fuel tax. I mean, it's not going to change the price of gas. We already know that. And so what we ought to be doing, instead of robbing Peter to pay Paul, robbing from Department of Health and old people and people who have disabilities, I'm just telling you, this thing, we can do anything we want, but we can't do everything. And there's a point where you got to say, what's the smartest way to do this thing? And I just think each penny is $7 million fuel tax. So those guys on those apportioned plates doing all the damage, it's costing us all the money. They're getting a nice break driving across our 402 miles. Hey, roads are our backbone. Huge for us. Our energy industry, everything rides on it. But to go after the sales tax, the state share, that's really our key kind of foundation for our state to provide these services. 140 million in biennial budget. I just don't think it'll work for the long term, and it's not a solution. And it's not even a very good Band-Aid. You're gonna poke it on there, it'll fall off in the middle of the night. It's not gonna work. Holy cow. Madam Chairman, I think this is what you call a filibuster. Golly, I just want you to think about this and just maybe pause a minute. This is not the way to do this. And I respect the members of the committee that brought it. They're enthused about it. But there's going to be something on the backside of this. It's not going to work. And we can do anything we want, but we can't do everything. Now, another solution, I talked about 37. I'm not filibustering. 37 and the 30, and we're at 24. There's a quote by a famous American. He's the guy, I can't say his name, but he held up the jar in a lightning storm, and the lightning came down and lit up the key. You know what I'm talking about? Ambassador to a country in Europe. He had this famous quote: when the money that you made starts making money, and then that makes money, and then that makes money, it's a beautiful thing. I got another solution, folks, and it's in a bill out there. We can turn this highway construction into some public purpose investments. We can use the money we make in the Permanent Mineral Trust Fund into our LSRA, just guarantee the LSRA, and we can borrow that from ourselves and make money off the money we've already made, instead of taking stuff out of the Department of Health, because it's going to have to come. DD preschools, it's going to come out of there. I read where we already denied their increase, their funding. Stuff's going to get tough, and I just, there's better ways to do this. So I would just put the brakes on this thing. Let's make some money out of the money that we made money on, and let's invest that in ourselves, not the world stock market. We can do that. There's a bill out there to do that. And appreciate it. This isn't the first time a little bill like this has come. But wow, it gives me the sweats. We got to be really careful here, Madam Chair. So I urge your caution, your no vote. Thank you.
Representative Tarver.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm going to steal a quote from the previous speaker. This is a good little bill, and we need to vote A for it. Thank you.
Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Brown's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 33 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. No. House Bill 33 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for consideration is House Bill 30. The reading of the clerk will read the bill.
The reading of the clerk. House Bill 30, sponsored by Transportation. Driver's license and ID revisions. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom is referred House Bill 30, Driver's license and ID revisions,
It's in my head.
respect the report,
Okay.
same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown,
Reading of the bill.
Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas,
wait. Where is
Posey,
MSC?
Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman.
Reading clerk. The first, you have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Hoping this will be a little bit less of a filibuster bill, but I move when the Committee of the Whole rises to report it, do so with the recommendation that House Bill 30 do pass. And with that, I further move the Standing Committee amendment and turn the explanation over to the good senior representative from this county.
I don't like the sound of that, senior representative.
Representative Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So ladies and gentlemen, this is a fairly simple bill. It's a driver's license ID bill. It's basically talking about amending the expiration date and renewals on license or driver's license for folks who are under 21. A couple of different things on the identification on the card and replacement of driver's licenses and repealing obsolete language. That's about all there is to it. The guts of the bill is when you're under 21 and you get a driver's license, it's requiring kind of a distinctive marking on your driver's license that shows that you're not over 21 years of age. And then after you're at 5 years from the issuance of that license, when you get your new license, that distinction goes away. After that, the rest of the language just has to do with issues with driving on your license plate, on your your exemptions, or the 2.0 hearing officer, if you have a 0.2 BAC, what the hearing officer's duties are and the timeframes on it. And so it's really strictly kind of an administrative corrections, but that's the guts of the bill. So I'd ask for your aye vote. And I think it's been moved, but first I'd like the adoption of the amendment. The amendment simply changes the date of implementation, it moves it from July 1, 25 to January 1 of 26. So that's just time for the department to implement the changes.
Discussion on the amendment, one? Question being called on amendment, on Standing Committee Amendment Number 1.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed? Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 has been adopted. We are now back on the bill.
Any questions on the bill? Otherwise, I'd ask for your aye vote. Looks like there's a question.
Representative Lean?
Forgive me while I interrupt the question. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question of clarity. I currently have young adults in this age bracket, and their driver's license goes vertical to horizontal or horizontal to vertical, depending on if you're 15, 16, 21. So I'm curious how this is any different than what we're currently doing.
That happens to me when I go home at night. So go ahead. I go from vertical.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So what this really ultimately boils down to is the department that's mentioned in this bill is going through a modernization project. Many of you that have been in here for more than 2 years, and if you read anything in the papers, have heard about what they call the RIS system, or Revenue Information System, and it's kind of this conglomeration of everything that's coming in. About 3 years ago, we gave them some money to start the process. They are now in the process of actually getting it up and running. And one of the issues that they identified in the process of building this RIS system is when you're 18 to 21 years old, as the representative just stated, you get that distinctive driver's license, and that's the distinctive marking right now. However, what it requires you is as soon as you turn 21, you have to go get a new driver's license. That's the way that it currently reads, and you have to go pay. The language that we're trying to do here is they can say, hey, look, that card is just a card. That doesn't actually give you the authority to drive. That's an inherent feature of you getting the driver license. I remember that from somebody else the other day. In the process of having that driver license, you do not have to go with this bill. You do not have to go back to the department and get a new driver license on your 21st birthday. If you get it on your 18th, it's still good for 5 years, just like anybody else who's over the age of 21. So what will happen at that point, if they've got that right now, they're going to need to go in and get a new one when they turn 21. When this bill goes into effect, they will not have to do that from 18 until they're 23 years old. That will automatically shift forward for them. So it's really just an enhancement of the new system that we're coming on. We're modernizing, and we have the availability of updating and not having those, I'll call them kids, young adults, to have to go back and renew their driver license every time they turn, or when they turn 21, to go get a new one and pay the $35.
Any further discussion? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Brown's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 30 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 30 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 28. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 28, sponsored by Transportation, Commercial Driver's Licenses, Revisions. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom is referred House Bill 28, Commercial Driver's Licenses, Revisions, respect the report, same back to the House, with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Posey, Tarver. Noes, Representatives Nicholas and Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so at the recommendation that House Bill 28 do pass. And I will turn the explanation of the bill over to the good freshman representative from the county where the water is sweet.
Representative McCann.
Oh, sorry. Says it is on. Okay. Okay. This is a bill mainly tightening up the commercial licenses for less than 21-year-old. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's just easiest for me to read it rather than you guys watch me waterboard myself. An act of relating to motor vehicles, amending grounds for disqualifications from driving a commercial motor vehicle for persons under 21. Authorizing expunged records to be considered for purposes of disqualification from driving a commercial motor vehicle as specified, adding violations that qualify as serious traffic violations, authorizing the department to waive examinations for a commercial driver's license applicant as specified, and provide rulemaking authority and providing for an effective date. So the key amendments, they're putting in serious violations, are basically defining that, using electronic wireless communications while driving. They're just adding some of these. If you get caught with this, it could cost you your commercial's license if you're less than 21. And finally, the department may waive the knowledge skills test for applicants meeting certain requirements. And I stand for questions.
Representative Tarver.
Madam Chairman, this is also just catching us up with the federal regulations. So there's a lot of conforming language in here, and they're just trying to catch us up to, I believe, what the federal regulations already have in statute.
Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and just to add on to that, we do this about every 3 years. It seems like when the federal agency over transportation that governs our commercial driver's license requires it. The good representative made note on page 4 there about being able to waive a knowledge test or a skills test or both. And you got somebody that coming out of the military that's got a military CDL, they can, and we saw the qualifications, they can waive the driver's test if they have those qualifications and certain. So that's really all that does. I think he'd done a great job of explaining the bill and would encourage an aye vote.
We are now on Committee of the Whole Amendment number 1.
Yeah, that's yours, Floyd.
There isn't one. That's what.
Oh, okay.
I don't think there was.
No, there's not.
Okay. Okay. It's fine. Okay. Any further questions? Question? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Brown's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 28 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? House Bill 28 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 20. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 20, sponsored by School Facilities, K through 12, School Facilities Leasing. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 4, Education, to whom is referred House Bill 20, K through 12, School Facility Leasing. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Erickson, Gugamas, Kelly, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Representative Andrew, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Andrew?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill number 20 do pass, and I turn over the the explanation to Chairman Brown.
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good little bill, vote aye. No, I'm just kidding. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've got here is a little bit of work that we did during the interim for select school facilities. We're just updating some language in the school facility statutes. One of the biggest issues that we identified once we started opening up the statutes for more charter schools is we had some charter schools that ended up having to lease out buildings. And when we were leasing out these buildings, one of the things that was noticed was that the potential for some misreading of the statute. And what you'll look at is if you flip into the actual bill itself, onto page 2, actually it's all the way down into page 3, in section B there on lines 22 and 23, the new language says, well, the old language is struck out, it says not to exceed. The new language is be equal or lesser to the amount of the total lease agreement or the average cost per square foot for buildings in the comparable area. Well, what was happening is there was a potential for some of these charter schools to go lease out a building, and they were being charged an exorbitant amount of money, and the state was being held at that exorbitant amount of money for that lease. The state is only going to pay for the average cost that comes around there and or what the allowable square footage is. And this question came up during committee is what is allowable square footage? Well, when you get into the nuts and the bolts of the model legislation and how everything is created for how we fund education, is each student is allotted a certain amount of square feet, and then you multiply that times the cost per square foot in that general area, and that's what we're trying to bring up to make sure that we're not overpaying for charter schools in let's use the one here in the capital city that just recently opened up, that we're not going to pay 3 or 4 times the space for the charter school that we would for our other public schools. So that's all this bill is doing, is clarifying that statute. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to talk to you.
Discussion on the bill. Chairman Heiner.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Just a question for the bringer, and I'm a little embarrassed, I don't know the answer to this, but we've spent $2.4 billion building new schools throughout this state over the past number of years. And some of these schools are now vacant and able to be leased out. Who gets the lease money? Does that go to the school district, or does it come back to the state because we built all of these schools?
Any further discussion? Question.
I'll answer the.
Oh, I'm sorry. Chairman Brown.
Thank you. To answer that question, if there is a lease that is developed, so to the county to our north, we actually have this exact situation where a recent school was ultimately basically vacated by the school district, and then the reverse happened. The charter school moved into that particular location, and so that's an agreement between the school district and the charter. That has nothing to do with the state per se. That is an agreement between those two entities. What the state then ultimately does is cover that cost, because that is ultimately our responsibility, because the charter school is a public school.
Is there any other further discussion? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Andrews' motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 20 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 20 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for the consideration is House Bill 38. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 38, sponsored by Revenue. Ad valorem taxation, payment and credit of penalties. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 3 Revenue, to whom is referred House Bill 38, ad valorem taxation, payment and credit of penalties, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Storer, Stivar, Wharf. Excused, Representative Riggins. Representative Locke, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Locke?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rise to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 38 do pass. And I yield the floor to the representative from another representative from this county for the explanation of the bill.
Representative Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. What this bill is the ad valorem tax payment and credit penalties. What this is a cleanup bill from last year, I believe. And all it does is on page 2, if you go down to line 11, it lines out where it says credited. And then on line 12, it replaces that with paid. And then it also lines out school foundation program account and puts in there treasurer and credited to approved in Wyoming statute 8-1-109. So this is just a cleanup bill and a very simple bill.
Discussion on the bill. Chairman Locke.
Thank you. And let me give a little bit of additional explanation. So the point was that this was actually in error. We needed to change that to where it directed those funds, additional funds directly to the treasurer. And the treasurer, there's actually some statute in place. There's a statute in place that then guides the treasurer on where those get redirected. So it was an error in the statute that was just being corrected.
Any further discussion on the bill? Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Locke motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 38 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The House Bill 38 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 25. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 25, sponsored by Transportation, Vehicle Accident Reporting Amendments. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom is referred House Bill 25, Vehicle Accident Reporting Amendments, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas, Posey, Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 25 do pass. And I will actually explain this bill. Ladies and gentlemen, your Transportation Committee was very, very busy this year doing a lot of statute updates. And this is just another one of those little quick updates that we're doing. However, this does have some serious implications. So I hope all the heads that are down are paying attention and actually reading the bill to figure out what we're doing here. Ultimately, what happens right now, ladies and gentlemen, is if you get in a vehicle crash, I don't like the term accident being in here because there's always somebody at fault when there's a crash that happens. When there is a crash, right now, if there is an apparent value of $1,000 in damage done, whether that be to personal property or to the vehicle, you're required to fill out a state crash report. That state crash report is then utilized by officers and by insurance companies and you name it to go through who is at fault and those types of things. One thing that is very important to remember is the state does not determine fault. So that is not anything to do with what's going on inside of this bill. But what we have seen over the past couple of years is if you back out of your garage and you take your mirror off, I wouldn't know anything about that. That's going to cost you more than $1,000 to replace. Okay? So do I really need to fill out a crash report for backing out of my garage and pulling the mirror off the side of my vehicle? Well, the state currently says yes. This statute update, what we're trying to do is to say, hey, look, instead of calling out the cop, instead of having to file this crash report, what really needs to make sure is if the vehicle is not capable of being moved safely and normally, then you need to call the police officers. Otherwise, if you move the vehicle and it's capable of being driven safely and normally, you can do your written crash report only, and this is where it comes down in here, you have to do it within 10 days, and that's only if you end up having property damage to the extent that the vehicle is the vehicle excluding bicycles or other vehicles, is disabled as to prevent it from its normal and safe operation, injury or death or of any person, and those are the only times that you have to call the police officer, okay? So we're trying to reduce the amount of responses that are happening to the highway patrol, your local police officers, those types of things. Then down underneath this, if you still want to call the police officer, you can do this, and when you go to do this, and there is a committee of the whole amendment to make some of this read a little bit clearer, and I appreciate the good former Vice Chairman of Appropriations for catching this. If it is not capable of being moved, then the police officer needs to respond, and they're going to bring in some information, and they're going to ask you to do make you fill out that report. One of the things that's interesting is, and we'll see this committee of the whole report, is if you read lines 10 through 21 on page 3, they don't make a lot of sense. And so we will have some cleanup language for that. And with that, Madam Chairman, I'll stand for some questions.
We are now, Representative Lean.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of questions. If we move this out to a 10-day reporting period, what happens to individuals who are intoxicated, but their car is not disabled and they leave the scene? Are they still able to be charged with leaving the scene of an accident? At what point are we able to justify knowing if they were intoxicated if they don't report it for 3 or 4 days and that's already left their system?
Representative Provenza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick, just clarification from the chairman. On page 2, where it says to the nearest office of the State Highway Patrol or to the office of the county sheriff, I just want to make sure that Highway Patrol has jurisdiction on, say, a county road. My understanding might be that they have county highways, but not a county road, so you'd have to report that to a sheriff's office. But perhaps you got testimony from Highway Patrol that's different. You're pointing fingers at me. I'd like you to just answer my question. Thank you.
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. So the answer to that is the State Highway Patrol has jurisdiction over all roads within the state. They have jurisdiction over anything and everything inside your city, inside your state, outside your county, wherever that may be. To the question from the representative from the center part of the state, that's a very good question. And as it stands, one of the things that I think you need to look at this is where it says the local police department can still initiate an investigation, right? So as it stands, I think that might be something that we need to look at for Second Amendment, or I can reach out to the department to verify. But as it stands right now, they would be able to leave if the vehicle is capable of being operated normally and safely. If it turns out that during the investigation, let's say I have a fence up and that fence, is ripped to shreds, but my car is still capable of being operated normally, there's going to be an investigation done on that. I don't know how we would determine whether or not that driver was intoxicated or not. So I think that's a good question, and I will have to reach out to the department and the division that handles those types of investigations and get back to you.
Representative Larson.
Madam Chairman, at this point, I'd like to move the Committee of the Whole Amendment for number 1 to House Bill 25. And folks, if you just go to page 3, I think it is, where we have the officers reporting. There's 2 things we've done there. We took the existing language down there. If you look on line 18 where it says shall forward written report, we took that language and we brought it up to the top. And so we're saying that a police officer has to investigate him and forward a written report if there's bodily injury and if the vehicle, same thing that we're talking about, if the vehicle is disabled. And then we kind of, I don't know the right word to use, the ones I'm thinking of is not appropriate. So if you look there on page 18, it says, and read that sentence, it says, thereafter by interviewing the participants or witnesses, period. And what it's intended to mean is if there's a hit and run, or if and then that's identified later, or if the vehicle is disabled after it's been moved. Maybe they thought it was good, but when they got home, there's a problem. So the language that we crafted to put in there on page 3 after line 21 is to delete that language that's difficult to understand and say, after the motor vehicle has been moved from the scene of the accident and the police officer is informed by the participants or witnesses of the accident that the motor vehicle is no longer operative. And so hopefully that cleans up the intent of that section, and would ask for your favorable vote on that amendment.
Discussion on the amendment. Question has been called. All those in favor of the Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The Committee of the Whole Amendment Number 1 has been adopted. We are now back on the bill. Representative Worthley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This appears to me to create a de facto no-fault insurance situation, when the only crashes that are going to be investigated at the scene are those where vehicles are completely inoperable or somebody's dead or injured. Because in fact, most insurance companies, if an officer doesn't investigate at the scene and make some conclusions of driving behavior by the various parties, they often don't declare somebody to be at fault. And so I just wonder, is that the intent of the committee, to create a no-fault insurance situation for our drivers?
Representative Wiley.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just to touch on that a little bit, Wyoming's already a no-fault state. And essentially what we're doing here with the committee is, law enforcement, they're not assessors or insurance adjusters. We're just helping those folks out.
Chairman Brown.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good question, but it is important again to remember that at the scene, even if citations are issued, citations do not necessarily warrant fault. So as the process goes through an investigation from an insurance standpoint, the insurance companies are going to fight that out. They're going to do that and determine who is at fault. It is still a good question. I've already sent a text message and an email out to the good guy with Colonel Wings on his shirt for the Highway Patrol to find out about the DUI question. But at this point, it's no different than status quo. If somebody had a claim underneath $1,000, they could just leave the scene of the accident as well, and there's not going to be any determination of fault with that as well.
Any further questions on the bill? Question being called. All those in favor of Chairman Brown's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 25 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. House Bill 25 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for your consideration is House Bill 129. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 129, sponsored by Representative Larson JT, School Finance, Dates for Funds Transfer. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 4, Education, to whom is referred House Bill 129, School Finance, Dates for Fund Transfers, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Erickson, Gugamas, Kelly, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Representative Andrew, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Andrews?
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that House Bill 129 do pass, and I turn over the explanation to the sponsor.
Representative Larson.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. And members, I bring you House Bill 129, School Finance, Dates for Fund Transfers. Members, what this does is just delete a second statutory payment that is required in June as of right now from county treasurers to school districts. What this payment was added a few years back when we did a ad valorem tax change and the districts were concerned back then. Now that we're in the process of that change and we're in the new ad valorem distribution, they're no longer needing that payment. And actually, they would prefer not to have that payment until the following month anyways, and that's what was testified in committee. So this is just taking some language out of the green books that's not needed, and I'll stand for any questions.
Discussion on the bill. Representative Conley.
I just rise in favor of this bill, and so does my treasurer. Thank you.
Further discussion? Oh, I'm sorry. Representative Brady.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just going to add that not only is it clean up the books, like Representative Larson had mentioned, helps the school district as well on that side, less entries, as well as the less checks from the county. Thank you.
Representative Larson. Okay. Calling. Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Andrews' motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 129 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? House Bill 129 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 122. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 122, sponsored by Representative Connolly. Senior Citizen Service Districts, Authorization and Renewal. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 7, Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions, to whom's referred House Bill 122, Senior Citizen Service Districts, Authorization and Renewal, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Weber, Yin. Representative Knapp, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Knapp?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill Number HB 122 do pass. And with the explanation, I will bring the bringer of the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Chairman.
Representative Connolly.
This bill, I've heard it said it a lot of times, just a simple little bill, but a lot of times apparently they're not. But what this bill does, my constituents in the county that I represent asked me to bring this bill forward for them. And it helps the senior center service districts across the state. I believe there's 12 of them now. And what it does, and it was amended in committee, and I appreciate the amendment, and I just want to run over that. So on page 1, line 3, after districts, it deletes the balance of the line, and then page 1, line 4.
Representative Connolly, you have to move the amendment.
Oh, apologize. I move that the committee accept this bill. It's not the right words.
The Committee of the Whole.
There is an amendment. So I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that the bill do pass with the Standing Committee amendments. And I further move the adoption of the Standing Committee amendments. Apologies for that. Thanks.
Please proceed, Representative Connolly.
Okay, I will. So you heard part of the amendment already. So when you go down to page 2, line 5, it delete the colons, semicolons, and add every 4 years. And then page 2, line 6, reinsert thereafter until defeated. And page 2, line 9 is after year, delete the balance of the line, and then delete page 2, lines 10 through 22, delete entirely. So what has happened with this bill is that what we're doing is we're giving the senior center special districts an extra 2 years before they have to go back to the voters. This bill does not increase mill levies. It does not, so therefore it doesn't increase taxes. And it gives the senior center service districts an opportunity to work on their programs and develop plans and be a little more, operate like a business where they don't have to think about, are they going to be in existence every 2 years? It would bring it up to 4. These senior centers are so important across the state, and they provide so many services that I want to see this bill pass. You know, 1 out of 5 people by 2030 will be over the age of 65 in Wyoming. And these senior centers provide a lot of services for the communities. In some places, they're the hub of the community. So I would like to see a favorable vote on this bill. And the other thing it does do is it puts the senior center service districts on the same level with there's some other special districts that don't have to go back to the voters every 2 years. So I think it's consistent with some of the other districts. So I ask for your favorable consideration on the bill.
Discussion on the Amendment 1. Representative Yin.
Madam Chairman, thank you. So members, just to be clear, with the amendment, if we adopt the amendment, the only thing the bill does is extend the 2 years for the first re-election for the district to 4 years. All the new language in the rest of the bill pretty much goes away. So if you would like it for the senior citizen districts to continue with the bill language, then don't adopt the amendment. If you are fine with it just making the first re-election be in 4 years instead of 2, and that's it, adopt the amendment.
Chairman Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Chairman Locke.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I wanted to be clear on that. I'm on and for the amendment because what it does is it strikes out, and I know that a previous speaker explained this very well, but it strikes out that I know a lot of people were concerned about not going back to the vote. And it strikes all of that language out, and that 2 year to 4 year is the only change that remains. So I'm on and for the amendment. I just wanted to make sure everyone was clear on that. Thank you.
Representative Worf. Chairman Wash.
Thank you, Madam
Chairman
Chair.
Washit. Apologies.
I'm on and for the amendment. We have one of these districts in our community, and by the time they get the board members elected and start getting organized, 2 years just isn't a practical amount of time. They don't have much to report in just 2 years. So 4 years is just a practical time period that makes a whole lot more sense. On and for.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Question has been called. All those in favor of the Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The Standing Committee Amendment Number 1 has been adopted. We are now back on the bill. Discussion on the bill. Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Knapp's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 122 do pass. All those in favor, say aye. Those opposed? House Bill 122 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 79. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 79, sponsored by Representative Stivar. Bond elections, voter threshold requirement. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 7, Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions, to whom's referred House Bill 79, Bond elections, voter threshold requirement, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Weber, Yin. Representative Knapp, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Knapp?
Madam Chairman, thank you. I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number 79 do pass. And with that, I will leave the explanation to the bringer of the bill. Move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number 79 do pass, and further move that the adoption of the Standing Committee Amendment.
Representative Starver.
The bringer of the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Let's do the Standing Committee Amendment first. All that did, and it's a good amendment. It drops there on line 18 from 50% down to 25%. So I'd like an aye vote on that.
Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Knapp's motion that when Question has been called. All those in favor of Standing Committee Amendment Number 1, say aye. Opposed? The Standing Committee Amendment 1 has been adopted. We are now back on the bill.
Thank you. Give you a little explanation on this bill. We're adding a paragraph in statute 22, 21, 110, ballot canvass results certification. And that's going to be for any bond elections held on another day other than the general election. Shall have the majority or 25% plus one people, qualified electors who voted in the last division or last general election in that political subdivision participate, or it's an invalid election. Looking at the data that I turned over to the good committee, that's why they dropped it down from 50% to 25. There's really two counties that this is going to affect. That's the one with the 1 on their license plate and the county with the 2 on their license plate. Last bond election we had here in this county, 4.84% voted in that bond election. All the other counties are above 30% on their bond elections. So that's the bills, just adding that paragraph to that statute. I'll stand for any questions.
Further discussion. Representative Singh.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to reiterate that this was in a 2023 election where over a $5 million bond election, only 4.8% of the electorate turned out to make the decision for the people. And we absolutely need to get this bill passed in order to assure there's actual accountability in our election process. Thank you.
Further discussion. Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Knapp's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so with the recommendation that House Bill 122, no, 79, sorry, do pass. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed? House Bill 79 has passed the Committee of the Whole. The next bill for our consideration is House Bill 22. The reading clerk will read the bill.
House Bill 22, sponsored by Representative Campbell. Water and wastewater operator emergency response. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 7, Corporations, Elections, and Political Subdivisions, to whom was referred House Bill 22, Water and Wastewater Operator Emergency Response, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Heft, Johnson, Knapp, Locke, Lucas, Webb, Yin. Excused, Representative Weber. Representative Knapp, Chairman.
You have heard the reading of the bill. What is your pleasure, Chairman Knapp?
Madam Chair, I move that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it do so with the recommendation that Bill number HB 22 do pass. There are no amendments, and for explanation of the bill, I would refer to its sponsor.
Representative Campbell.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. This truly comes from one of our smaller municipalities. So the origination of this bill started in Opal. And from Opal and their mayor, they passed a resolution, I think in March of 2024, with a simple request that in terms of our emergency response to natural disasters or other emergencies that might affect our municipalities, their request in resolution was that we just add water and wastewater certified operations to that designation. So when there is a natural disaster or there is an emergency, the individuals who have access and knowledge to our water and wastewater systems are allowed to be on site. So from Opal, this then proceeded to an association that is mostly all of the municipalities within our state of Wyoming are part of this association. And they talked about it during their summer conference, and every municipality within the state of Wyoming said, we absolutely support this. It has to happen. So House Bill 22 really is, to repeat what has been said, a pretty simple bill. All it does is change 2 portions. The first portion is Wyoming Statute 1913-108. And what this does, this part of the bill does, is say when our communities are working with Homeland Security in creating their emergency response plans, it already exists. We're just adding that they include collaboration, coordination with our water and wastewater certified operators. Let's include them in that conversation, right? The second part that we will be recommending adjustment to is Wyoming Statute 35-9-152. And that really does just alter the definition of emergency responders, those able to respond to emergency situations, and includes our water and wastewater certified operators. With that, I am open to any questions that there might be or discussion on the bill.
Discussion on the bill. Question has been called. All those in favor of Chairman Knapp's motion that when the Committee of the Whole rises to report, it does so that the recommendation that House Bill 22 do pass. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Our House Bill 22 has passed the Committee of the Whole. And this concludes the Okay.
Great job.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go.
You're gonna want that too, aren't you?
Yes.
Is that really how you say it?
That's what I was told.
Perfect.
Okay, so we gotta get back over into here. Where is the closeout? Mr. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that the Committee of the Whole rise and report.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. Motion carries. Reading clerk.
Mr. Speaker, your Committee of the Whole, having had under consideration bills on general file, begs leave to report as follows. House Bill 93 do pass. House Bill 41 do pass amended. House Bill 40 do pass. House Bill 75 do pass. House Bill 69 do pass. House Joint Resolution 2 do pass. House Bill 33 do pass. House Bill 30 do pass amended. House Bill 28 do pass. House Bill 20 do pass. House Bill 38 do pass. House Bill 25 do pass amended. House Bill 129 do pass amended. House Bill 122 do pass amended. House Bill 79 do pass amended. House Bill 22 do pass. Representative Thayer, Chairman.
I move the adoption of the Committee of the Whole report.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion carries. Congratulations, Representative Thayer. Thank you very much, Representative Thayer. And Body, you did an excellent job on Committee of the Whole. That's the most bills been worked through a Committee of the Whole for the 68th Legislature. She set the record. So now you know what you need to keep going after, ladies and gentlemen. So the challenge is on tomorrow. Okay, next thing on our agenda is messages from the Senate.
Message 124. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Senate File 19, Impact Assistance Payments, Maximum Percentages and Review. Ayes 24, noes 6, excused 1. Message 125. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 27, Wyoming National Guard Member Referral Amendments. Ayes 27, noes 3, excused 1. Message 126. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Senate File 36, Music Therapy, Use of Title. Ayes 27, ayes 17, noes 13, excused 1. Message 127. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 56, Providing False Information to Registered Agents. Ayes 30, excused 1. Message 128. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 57, 911 Service Reporting. Ayes 27, noes 3, excused 1. Message 129. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 59, Registered Agents, Release of Records. Ayes 29, noes 1, excused 1. Message 130. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading by the vote indicated. Senate File 48, Business Property Exemption. Ayes 22, noes 9. Message 131. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Senate File 49, Tangible Personal Property Index and Depreciation. Ayes 27, noes 4. Message 132. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Senate File 99, Game and Fish Property Tax Exemption. Ayes 31. Message 133. Mr. Speaker, the bill listed below passed the Senate on third reading in an amended form by the vote indicated. Senate File 90, Youth Organizations in Schools. Ayes 28, noes 3. Sincerely, Ellen Thompson, Senate Chief Clerk.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Reports from standing committees.
House Joint Resolution 4, sponsored by Representative Stivar, Constitutional Amendment, Veterans Property Tax Exemption. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 3 Revenue, to whom's referred House Joint Resolution 4, Constitutional Amendment, Veterans Property Tax Exemption, respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Riggins, Storer, Stivar, Wharf. Representative Locke, Chairman. House Bill 23, sponsored by Transportation, Surrender Driver's License Repeal. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom's referred House Bill 23, Surrender Driver's License Repeal. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas, Posey, Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman. House Bill 24, sponsored by Transportation, Alternative Fuel Tax Electricity Amendments. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportation, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom's referred to House Bill 24, Alternative Fuel Tax Electricity Amendments. Respect the report, same back to the House with a recommendation do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas, Posey, Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman. House Bill 27, sponsored by Transportation, Disabled Parking Windshield Placards Revisions. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 8, Transportations, Highways, and Military Affairs, to whom's referred House Bill 27, Disabled Parking Windshield Placards Revisions. Respect the report, same back to the House, with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Brown, Geringer, Larson, McCann, Nicholas, Posey, Tarver, Wiley. Representative Brown, Chairman. House Bill 61, sponsored by Representative Banks, State Land Lease Preference Amendments. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, State, and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom's referred House Bill 61, State Land Lease Preference Amendments. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Banks, Davis, Eklund, Johnson, Ottman, Provenza, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Representative Winter, Chairman. House Bill 63, sponsored by Representative Rodriguez-Williams, Working Animal Protection Act. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 5, Agriculture, State, and Public Lands and Water Resources, to whom's referred House Bill 63, Working Animal Protection Act. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representative Banks, Davis, Eklund, Johnson, Ottman, Schmid, Strzok, Winter. Noes, Representative Provenza. Representative Winter, Chairman. House Bill 199, sponsored by Representative Andrew, Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 4, Education, to whom's referred House Bill 199, Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes, Representatives Andrew, Bratton, Erickson, Gugamas, Kelly, Lawley, Singh, Strzok, Williams. Representative Andrew, Chairman. This bill was re-referred to Committee Number 2, Appropriations. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 2, Appropriations, to whom's referred House Bill 199, Wyoming Freedom Scholarship Act. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Alaman, Angelos, Bear, Haroldson, Pendergraft, Smith. Noes, Representative Sherwood. Representative Bear, Chairman. House Bill 204, sponsored by Representative Byron, Non-Resident Fishing License Fee Increase. Mr. Speaker, your Committee Number 6, Travel, Recreation, Wildlife, and Cultural Resources, to whom's referred House Bill 204, Non-Resident Fishing License Fee Increase. Respect the report, same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass with the following amendments. Ayes, Representatives Byron, Campbell, Connolly, Harshman, Jarvis, Provenza, Storer, Thayer, Wharf. Representative Byron, Chairman. House Bill 214, sponsored by Representative Thayer, Local Government Payments, Electronic Payments. Mr. Speaker, your committee number 3, Revenue, to whom is referred House Bill 214, Local Government Payments, Electronic Payments. Respectfully report same back to the House with the recommendation that it do pass. Ayes. Representatives Brown, Campbell, Lean, Locke, Lucas, Riggins, Storer, Stivar, Worth. Representative Locke, Chairman.
Thank you, Reading Clerk. Next, we have our committee announcements. Committee number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 1 will meet at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, Friday, January 24th, to hear House Bill 83, Child Custody Sex Offense Conviction Presumption, and House Bill 62, Prostitution Amendments.
Thank you, Chairman Washit. Committee number 4, Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 4, Education, will meet Friday, January 24th upon noon recess in Capitol Extension Room 3 to hear 2 bills. House Bill 60, Student Eligibility and Sports Amendments, and House Bill 72, Protecting Women's Privacy in Public Spaces Act.
Chairman Bear, Committee number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 2, Appropriations, will be meeting tomorrow, January 24th, upon noon recess in the State Capitol Room E301 and online to discuss House Bill 103, Columbarium Regulation, House Bill 276, State Agreements to Perform Immigration Functions, and House Bill 173, Independent Candidate Requirements, and re-referrals as assigned.
Thank you, Chairman Bear. Committee number 9, Chairman Heiner.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 9, Minerals, will meet tomorrow at 7:30 a.m. We'll resume House Bill 59, then we'll take up House Bills 161 and 193, and if time allows, we'll get to House Bill 208.
Committee 10, Chairman Rodriguez-Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Your committee number 10 will meet tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. in room number 3. We will continue House Bill 42, Regulation of Surgical Abortions, House Bill 159, Protecting Water from Chemical Abortion Waste, and House Bill 164, Medical Prescription Off-Label Purposes.
Thank you, Chairman Williams. Committee 7, Chairman Knapp.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Your committee number 7, Corporations, will meet Friday, January 24th upon noon recess in Capitol Extension Room E005. We'll be discussing 3 bills: House Bill 133, Sanctuary Cities, Counties, and State Prohibition, House Bill 160, Voter Identification Revisions, and House Bill 81, Regulatory Reduction, Mortgage Loan Originating Licensing.
Thank you, Representative Knapp. Are there any other things that should be properly brought before the chamber? Seeing none. Ladies and gentlemen, you're 25% of the way through your first general session for you freshmen. Believe it or not, you've been doing this for almost 2 weeks now, and you're getting the hang of it, and that was evidenced very quickly in how many bills you guys were able to shoot through this afternoon. So thank you for your efforts. And to the committees. A lot of committee work has been done right there as evidence to that many bills that are going to be on the general file that we'll be able to start to work on. So good job, people. You're doing a great job. Mr. Majority Floor Leader, that clears the deck. Do you have something for us? You can blame that on committee number 8, Transportation. Anyway, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move that the House stand in recess until 10 a.m. tomorrow, Friday. It is a Friday, January 24th.
You have heard the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The motion carries. See you tomorrow morning to 10 o'clock. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you.